missing the response from the.
Yeah, it is, Rebecca.
It's right
I
here.
just showed it to you.
I know. Oh, this is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was unattached.
Yes, the weather's too nice for people to come waste their time here.
Thank you very much, Marcelo.
Perfect.
Next time I call you, you better answer. You know the consequences if you don't.
All right, I've got 7 o'clock.
Love you, bye. Love you, bye.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the Lafayette Township Board of Trustees and Fire District regular meeting Tuesday, April 14th at 7 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call. Kittle here.
Bilal here.
Paroli here. If everyone would stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So the first item is the consent agenda. We have one item on the consent agenda, which are the meeting minutes from March 31st. Has everybody had a chance to review those? Do I have a motion to approve?
A motion to approve?
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next item on the agenda is the Lafayette Township Fire District monthly report. You can leave Bat lead off.
Good evening. We had 75 calls in March. 2 in Chatham Township, 3 in the city of Medina, 60 in Lafayette Township, 5 in Chippewa Lake, 3 in Glory Glens, 1 in Wadsworth Township, and 1 in York Township. And 51 were during the day and 24 at night. 64% were EMS calls, and the rest were fires and other incidents. Our average turnout time is 1 minute and 46 seconds, and on-scene time is 6 minutes and 6 seconds, so we're doing good. We received mutual aid 2 times. We gave mutual aid to Medina City twice, Chatham twice, Wadsworth once, and York Township once. And then a couple things on the agenda. I'd like to recognize the Medina County Sheriff's Officer dispatchers and deputies from the Medina Police Department for their assistance on March 13th, 2026, this big storm that came through here. The dispatch center received, this is only the county dispatch, received 498 calls between 2:45 and 7 p.m. 203 turned out to be service calls, and there was 4,288 radio transmissions with only 4 dispatchers. And I know Medina City probably fielded a lot of those calls because when you call 911, it usually goes to the city from this area, just an FYI, but because I accidentally did it yesterday. Sorry about that. And we received 10 fire calls in 3 hours and handled all of them with our own department, so it was a success. We've been submitted for the EMS Board Priority Grant in an amount of $30,000. If awarded, this will fund EMS training equipment for our department. And we submitted for the Firehouse Subs Grant in the amount of $10,369 for a forcible entry door trainer. And unfortunately, we were not awarded the State Fire Marshal's equipment grant this year. A couple of things we've been doing as a department. Lieutenant Howell and I attended the Youth Fire Center Intervention Specialist this past month with the State Fire Marshal's Office. Our department can now handle cases involving youth fire setting behavior. This provides an opportunity for youth in our community to change or modify behaviors when and if it does happen. And it also helps with our readiness for future ISO ratings. We held our department award ceremony, and the following firefighters were recognized for efforts. Noah Gable, Firefighter of the Year. Kelly Parker was our EMS Provider of the Year. Allison Provance was our Probationary Firefighter of the Year, and Tara Powell was our Officer of the Year. And then we 2 awards were given as the Fire Chiefs Award to Andrew Berger and Ruby Massall for their outstanding attitude and commitment to our department. So they've done great work. So. Engine 3 transmission was repaired due to it being stuck in first gear. Those cost of repairs were $1,336, and Harrison Fleet replaced a two tires on Medic 1. The muffler came off during a call and punctured the inner rear tires, so they replaced 2 tires on that vehicle. And I think that was about $700, $650 or $700. So they gave us some discounts after they put a spare on there and they replaced it and gave us I think it was like $650. And then 2 resignations, Carson Lair and Austin Neal were both hired full-time. Carson was hired at Cuyahoga Falls Fire Department, and Austin has been hired full-time at Parma Heights Fire Department. Neither are able to work part-time jobs during their orientation period. Both are outstanding individuals, and I wish them the best of luck. I've included the resignation letters. And then 4 people we've interviewed, and they're great individuals. Wes Hollis is a firefighter 2 EMT. His brother also works here. Luke Hollis, he's a great kid. Comes from a firefighter family. He's going to be attending paramedic school in the fall. Gabby Cooper, an EMT, she lives in Lodi, and she'll be attending fire school at MCC in the fall. Andrew Kenyon is a firefighter 2 EMT. He's also enrolled at medic school at Akron General for this fall. And Luke Jackson, he lives right down around the corner. He's a paramedic, and he'll be attending firefighter school in the fall as well. So, and then I know I put it in my report, the county mutual aid agreement. So I guess 3 actionable agenda items. That's all I have.
Well, why don't you just hang out for 1 second?
Yes,
In case
sir.
there's a couple of questions.
Sure.
But I do have, everybody got a chance to see the mutual aid agreement the chief had sent out.
Yeah.
I've got a resolution here, resolution 2026-15 FD. It's basically just accepting or entering into the agreement, and authorizing, it's set up for, I think chief and I to sign, or chief and 1 trustee to sign it. So the resolution is just a resolution authorizing participation in and execution of the Medina County Inter-County Mutual Aid Agreement for Fire and EMS Services, and it would be effective immediately. And the mutual aid agreement's already been reviewed by the prosecutor's
Yes, it
office,
has.
so it's the standard
Yes, sir. Yep.
countywide. So I would make the motion to approve resolution 2026-15 FD.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Not,
Kittle, yes.
Bilal, yes.
Corolla, yes. And if you want to handle the,
Yeah, so I'd like to make a motion to accept the resignation of Carson Lair and Austin Neal.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then I also talked with Chief about these 4 hires, and the reason why we're replacing 2 people with 4 people is because one guy goes on summer, he goes out to Port Clinton. We have another person that's injured, and then 2 additional people to replace the 2 that resigned. So I would like to make a motion to appoint or hire Wes Hollis, Gabby Cooper, Andrew Kenyon, and Luke Jackson.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right. And then the only other item that I had, and I had placed this on here, Chief, we had talked kind of briefly about the printer situation
Oh, yeah.
in the station.
Yeah.
And I think everybody got a chance to see the email that went around. But one of the things that we had talked about was possibly going from, well, why don't you give a summary of what your print situation is in the facility? And
So we have, I guess, desktop printers for it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 desktop printers. Each one of them requires, well, two of them require a specific cartridge. One requires another specific cartridge for cartridges, and then the 4th one requires different cartridges. All of them almost, except 2 of them require different cartridges. To replace those, it's probably every 6 months to replace those. It's pretty expensive. It's probably upward of the $600 range to replace each one of those 4 colored cartridges. But I would say like 2 of the printers are replaced more regularly than the other 2, but it does add up quite a bit.
so one of the things that we had talked about was we have the printer, copier, scanner, kind of central hub down at the admin building. And we purchase that, and then we pay a per print fee on it, plus it has some additional controls, you know, to kind of keep track of, you know, who's printing in color versus, you know, black and white for certain, you know, you can put some restrictions in place. But, in talking with Blue Technologies, we can look at the possibility of replacing the one that's down there, bringing the old machine up here, maintaining two separate accounts. I think in the long term, there's a decent amount of savings. Just to give it an idea, like right now, we currently pay, 0.0083 cents for black and white, and then it's, 0.05 for color. And, then they send us all the replacement cartridges, right? So in the long term, it's significantly less expensive, you know, ink-wise to do it. And one of the things that I talked to Chief briefly about was if we look at potentially purchasing a new printer for the admin, then we can move the admin one up here. We paid, just so that everybody knows, we paid, it was $4,700, I think, for that original printer, they forecast a 7 to 10 year useful life. So, I mean, we could look at, you know, bringing that up here, replacing the printer at the admin. It would cost us a little over $5,000 with the machine that they would potentially be bringing in would be a 7-year reliability pledge. They'll service and maintain it for that 7 years at no cost to the township, and we just pay the print rates. And I apologize, the print rates that I gave you were on the new machine. Our current machine, because the way that they charge it is based on age and efficiency, that cost of per print goes up over time. So we're currently paying 0.015 and 0.096 on the current printer. So I just wanted to kind of talk to the board about like what your thoughts were on maybe.
I think we
Doing
talked
something.
about it in the budget, didn't we, anyway, and we were factoring in the costings back then as to it changing, weren't we? So I think we had it within the budget back then.
Well,
So that, real quick, that
Mhm.
per page rate,
correct.
that covers the cost of toner, so we don't have to ever buy toner
Correct,
again.
because they're networked, they can see where we at on toner levels, and
And
when
then
we're
they'll
low,
come in
they
and
just,
replace
they
it.
ship
Okay.
it, they ship it to us.
Okay.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
so
there's
they just
no-
ship it in and.
So there's no real operating cost other than we gotta supply the paper.
Correct. And then there's the potential, because of the age of it, the machine that would come up here would potentially have possibly maintenance costs, potentially.
Yeah.
But that would be on like an as-needed
Okay.
type basis. And then, I guess my thought was just how we wanted to handle, because technically they are separate entities. So I don't know, I mean, Chief, when we talked about it, I don't know that the fire district has any desire to be the one to purchase the new
No,
machine.
If we get the new machine, I guess.
Well, it would be $5,000 out of the
Right.
fire district's budget,
I
then,
mean-
which is probably a little.
We probably spend, I would say we spend about 2,000 at the most on printer cartridges, so.
Per year.
Per year,
Yeah.
at the most. I don't think it's even close, I think it's probably 1,500, because I kinda wait until there's like, I get enough complaints that, hey, it's really not printing anything now, Chief, and you can change it, and I buy the cartridges, but, so, it's up to you guys, I guess, with however you wanna make it work. I would think the two printers we have, they're fairly new, 2 of them are fairly new, so we could potentially keep those in service for a while.
Right.
And have that one main printer for, like, the rest of the department, everybody get a code kind of thing, and then we know, like, if there's issues or people excessively printing kind of thing, it's also something that we could probably look at more detailed.
Plus it would allow, you know, it would make it easier for Chief with, you know, scanning things in for Sherry.
Yeah,
you know.
like a new hire packet is this thick, and I'm swearing at the printer out there, cause it's taking all the paper at once, so that would be nice if we had a bigger machine that would be able to do that kind of thing, so yeah.
So I guess, I don't know where your guys' thoughts are,
Yeah, I don't know, I don't remember if we had anything budgeted for this, if it was in the budget. But I guess guess my question for Chief is how much stock of toner do you have?
Just what we have in the machines.
What's in the machine?
Yeah,
So, okay.
we don't, I
So once
buy it
that's-
when it
You-
starts to
Okay.
go out, so.
How long does it take to order it, if we were to order it?
He didn't give me a set time frame. It'll probably depend on what their volumes are at the given time, but they will, and we don't have to make a decision on it tonight. I just wanted to kind of maybe start the ball rolling, because we haven't really discussed it in detail since we got numbers. But just so that everybody's on the same page, if we go this route, Blue Technologies will come out, they'll deliver the new machine to whichever location. If we have them install it at the admin building, they'll bring the old machine up here, get it set up and configured up here, and then they will set it up so that there's two separate accounts, so that, you know, they are billed to the township and to the fire district accordingly. So we will have service there, and then, you know, we can kind of go from there. So maybe this is kind of a good place just to start the discussion, and everybody can kind of take a look at the numbers. We meet again in 2 weeks, so.
Yep.
Then I don't have anything else for Chief unless you guys do.
No, I don't.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief. Next on the agenda is the financial reports. So the first item is payroll on the township side for the pay period, March 29th through April 11th. We have township payroll totaling $6,053. I would make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then on the fire district side, we have the same pay period, payroll totaling $27,349.21. I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And for the warrants. We had it on the report here. Where is it? Right there. We have it later on, but we might as well talk about it now since Sherry put it on the listing. Two things on the payment listing that was printed for this week for the township. We had the $1,800 for Sedgwick at the last meeting that we weren't sure on. We'll talk about it after we do warrants, or we can jump to it, I guess, because this past 2 weeks, since the last meeting, Sherry, Chief, and I have both met with our rep from Sedgwick. It's become very obvious why we use them, and she was able to clarify that our workers' comp charges, what we pay, is about 35% less than the standard published rates because we're part of this purchasing pool essentially. So we don't recoup our entire $1,800 just on that discount alone. But again, when we talk about the, I don't know, you wanna have the, might as well have the conversation now, just because instead of asking to approve before we get to it. So last meeting we talked about the BWC like $50,000. So we figured out what the, why they had a $50,000 adjustment on there, and it turns out that we've been misclassifying wages that have been earned in the wrong, like, employment code for the last 3 years. Actually, it goes even further back than that.
For the fire department?
Well,
Or for the township?
our BWC account is only on the township side.
Okay.
But obviously the bulk of our wages are on the fire district side, and it does stem from the account classifications that were used for our firefighters and EMTs. There was a BWC audit that was done in 2022 where the issue was identified and it was corrected, and then the fiscal officer continued to misclassify them. And just to kind of put it in context, the code that was being used was for like volunteer firefighters, people that don't ever staff and just report from home, and the BWC rate is 65 times higher. So we were overpaying by a factor of 65. So in working with BWC, we should easily be able to audit the 2025 numbers and get that back. She feels confident that we'll be able to recoup the 2024 as well. So there's some work there. So we obviously don't have to worry about that, but that is a perfect example of why, you know, our rep at Sedgwick was able to kind of work through all of this for us, be able to identify those issues, pull those documents, and I will be getting those over to you guys. I apologize about not getting them to you before, but that's where kind of that piece comes in. So I would recommend we put the annual fee for Sedgwick back into the payment listings. And then the other item that I had on here that's on the agenda for today, later we were gonna talk about, is the Greater Chamber of Commerce, Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce annual fee. I'm not sure why we're in the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, that was the question I had. What benefit do they provide us? And
The service department go to the safety meeting, I think it's monthly, and that helps with our workers' comp. I think we're part of that, aren't we?
I don't think that's through the chamber though, and even if it is, we've had those safety service meetings, they get us a $50 discount, so we pay more to attend those meetings.
It is, I think it is through the chamber.
Through the
They're-
chamber.
They're the ones that
Yeah.
set it up,
But
but we had talked about not even doing it because it's not worth how much you're
we
paying
get
for
a
them to go.
$50 discount, and we pay significantly more than that for them to go to the lunches. So if there's a benefit to going,
right.
that's one thing, but the discount that we get by attending is not worth it. And, you know, I mean, obviously the Chamber of Commerce, I don't wanna knock what they do for businesses, you know, and the networking and that kind of stuff, but as far as like what they do for the taxpayer, I don't see there being any reason for us to be in that. So, again, just I would take that off, and I would not
Can I
renew our.
put Matt on the spot, because Matt's attended quite a few of those safety meetings. Matt, what have you got from them?
It's been helpful, you know, they kinda, like the first meeting I went to, it was on leadership, you know, and they were kinda talking about how the leaders ought to be interacting, you know, how to constructively interact with, you know, the ones working under you and some things to work on, things to do and not do. I mean, a lot of it was common sense stuff, but they did have some good points on things. You know, there was one on, tied in with OSHA, and obviously, I know we're not under OSHA's control, but they brought up the PERS or whatever it's called that we are under too, and they kinda give us some updates on things to look for, electrical hazards and just the workplace hazard. It has been helpful, but I mean, I'm sure it's not cheap either to go, so.
It is geared more towards service,
Yeah.
like out in the work field doing, like, there was one that I enjoyed, cause it was called Stop the Bleed, and like how to, like if somebody has a major cuts their arm or something really bad, like how to, but I'm not gonna have that sitting in the admin, like, you know, it would be for the,
Hopefully,
well, yeah, it'd be for the guys, you know?
There's people that know a lot of that stuff right here that you could get that same training.
Yeah.
One- and I think-
It is a lot of where we could
Right.
do it ourselves.
and I think through the OTA as well,
Done
a bunch of that stuff, you know, I don't know if you've had access to it before at Homer Township, but, you know, it's on our agenda for later today too, is, you know, the Ohio Township Association and the Medina County Township Association, there's both, you know, have training and education programs that are available too, to help with that kind of stuff that we already
Right.
typically take advantage of, so.
Yeah, I know the Chamber of Commerce, the membership, the annual membership's only $345. I just don't know what we get for $345.
And I think you can attend those safety meetings as a non-member anyway. So if there was something
Correct.
drastic that they looked on and said, hey,
Hey,
we're
we
gonna
really wanna
go.
go.
I mean, I
we
think it's a
do
little
it.
more, but if there was something like, oh, we really should go learn
Yeah.
about that, but.
So I think then we don't renew it then.
Okay, so everybody's good with that, let's see here, so then that, is everybody okay with those adjustments to those?
Mhm.
Okay. So, for the electronic warrants, we have, 134/2026 through 143/2026 in the amount of $12,428.91, and the checks, 37787 through 37804 minus 37794, and we will add in the check for 37768 for Sedgwick. So bear with me, I apologize. We're gonna do, it'll be 11,181.77 with the addition of the 1805. I'm sorry, Sedgwick was 1805, and the subtraction of the 325 or 345 for the Greater Chamber. And I would make the motion to approve those.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the fire district side is much cleaner. We have electronic warrants, 241/2026 through 247/2026, totaling $10,455.82, and checks 2184 through 2194, totaling $19,230.04, for a total of $29,685.86. And I would make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we covered the BWC, so we are on to service.
A short recap on what has been happening on the service department is, we've been performing our weekly road inspections. Earlier in the month, we salted the roads as needed. I think we're past that part of the season now. As was mentioned earlier, about attended this monthly safety council meeting. We've gone in and reinstalled one damaged street sign down on Ryan Road. I think it was one somebody drawn off the road and the car had hit. And two dead deer that were removed, one on Ryan Road, one on Egypt. We assisted the fire department with one structure fire. As far as under the equipment, performed repairs and maintenance of the township equipment, kept everything washed. We installed new sideboards on our new Mack dump truck. As far as under the buildings, kept the garages and town hall cleaned, stocked with supplies. Ben and I installed a hot water tank for the sink in the old shop, so we actually got, first time we were having hot water out there, so that's kind of nice. Ben finished up the LED lighting upgrade there at the admin building. As far as cemeteries, we performed one cremation burial at the Waltz Cemetery. Same for the park as far as removed debris and emptied garbage cans. Nothing new happening there yet. Last part I had for under some action points, and I realize it's gonna be some repeat stuff because I saw it's on the agenda, but as far as hiring, one thing we noticed, doing the weekly road inspection, and we always stop in at the Waltz Cemetery and kind of look things over to make sure there's no headstone damage and so on and so forth, and we had a top of one of the old cedar trees break off and fall down and actually knocked one of the old headstones over. And we kind of started inspecting the rest of the trees, and there's like 4 trees within that cemetery that quite honestly need to be taken down. They're actually starting to push up and shifting the headstones. The problem's gonna be, I think there's one on that we could probably do ourselves very easily, but the rest of them are nestled in with the stones, and I'm afraid we're gonna end up damaging the stones. My recommendation would probably be to hire the tree professionals of some sort to do that. Obviously it's too, wet right now to get a crane truck in there to assist with doing that, but that would be my recommendation for that, so we don't hurt any of the stones. Ben and I was kind of discussing as far as like roadside mowing, he had mentioned that bringing up, he was gonna be interested in hiring and bringing back that Tim McGill, I guess his name was, for mowing roadsides. He's done a pretty good job with that. Obviously, I know it's on the agenda to talk about discussing possibly a 3rd full-time employee for the service department. And I saw on the agenda too that there's for discussing a lawn mowing for the township properties. That's all I have, unless anyone else has some questions for me.
I'm good.
No, don't have any questions. Stay there. Stay there, because we're gonna go through it. So the mowing contract, Nick, did you get a chance to have a look through this a bit more?
Yeah, I reviewed the mowing contracts. 2 of them are pretty close to the same, and the third one's a little bit more, about 10 grand more.
Okay, because I know that when you asked for some more details from me, and I figured the best way of doing this is to get you to drive the township with him, with Matt. So one of the things is to show you just how much mowing we do. Well, we don't do it, they do. So I think it gave you more of an idea as well as to how much time it takes for them to mow this. and it kind of, it falls into a lot of things with the ditch cleaning, with the jobs that they've got to do, with, and how do we use and manage their time wisely. One of the things that's come about is if they're mowing, then everything else gets put to the side. And last year we didn't have anyone seasonal come in, so Rick, Ben, and Dave were mowing, but it meant none of the ditches, none of the trees and clearance weren't done, which has kind of put the township in a position where the roads are getting a little bit neglected during the season time as well, because the ditches are causing more flooding. So I think we've got to make a decision as to whether we outsource the mowing or we employ someone to come in, but I don't know what your guys' thoughts were on this yet.
Yeah, so my main concern is keeping the service department busy. If we're gonna take, I think it came out to be about 17 hours per employee per week of mowing. So just over 2 days a week. We just need to make sure that we're gonna keep them busy. I did ride with Matt on Friday, and he showed me a lot of deferred maintenance on the roads, on the township roads. Things that he would like to do as far as recutting the berms and cutting the ditches, resetting culverts as needed, and then also trimming trees and brushwork. So I believe there's a lot of work to do, and I think that would be more suited to the service department than mowing grass. My concern is I don't think we should. So I don't think we should sell the equipment yet, the mowers. And I also don't think it's good for the mowers to sit idle for a year. So I personally think that we should keep the administration building the responsibility of the service department, and they can mow that.
I don't know if it matters, but Tim did work last year. He did mow. He was hired.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Oh no, you said he wasn't.
No, I took the other seasonal. We had.
Oh, okay.
Past years, we've brought additional people in.
I don't know if, I
during
just didn't know if that
summer, in
mattered for
addition
your
to Tim.
numbers or
Okay.
anything.
Yeah, it was.
Oh,
It was all factored in.
Okay.
So I don't think it's good for the equipment to sit idle. I think we should keep the township complex, the admin building where the service department, the town hall, and the admin building, I think we should keep that in-house for the service department. They can rotate and use one mower every week just to keep all those mowers operational. And then we can that serves two purposes. It keeps we can give it a shot this year, try it out. And if it doesn't work the way we think it's going to work, then we can always bring it back in house, and Matt and crew can mow grass next year.
Matt, when you talk to the potential contractors that bid on it, or submitted quotes, where did any of them give you kind of like it's an all or nothing, or do you think if we went to maybe the preferred quote and said, hey, we're gonna give you 80% of it, or whatever it works out to be, right? Because I know that they all kind of quoted each section, but then it was kind of like but they either wanted it all or they didn't. I know we had kind of talked about that a little bit, versus even going half, because maybe going half and half to see how two different vendors did or something like that. So if we were to go back to one of them and say, hey, we're gonna do it this way, do you think it would be a problem?
I don't think it will, because it was just, I don't mean to go off on a rabbit trail with it, but I mean, it's just like with the mowing itself. I mean, one of the things that, we emphasized to the guys is, if there's certain sections it's gonna go faster than others.
Yep.
And if, we didn't wanna have the lawnmowers out there running just for the sake of running if it doesn't need, and they were gonna treat it accordingly. That was kind of an understood thing with all three. So I don't imagine it's gonna be a problem. I did ask Ben about, the time frame on what it takes to mow, the grounds there at the admin and the ball field. He said about 5 hours to do the mowing, and I guess that's something to keep in mind. I don't know if that's something that Tim would be, if we're busy on the roads, if he'd be willing to mow, or we can have him, so that'd be the one downside of us mowing, it will take 5 hours for us to do.
Cause I guess, you know, my thoughts, just to piggyback on what Nick was saying is, I definitely see the potential value in it. It's just a matter of, you know, I guess the other piece of it is, how much of the additional work that you're hoping to free yourselves up to be able to do, can you do without us purchasing any more equipment? You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
that's correct.
Cause if we're, not that we won't necessarily maybe if it works and we transition that direction, it could be good, but if we're doing this, you know, to free up a bunch more time, you know, and hopefully save a little bit of money, or at least better allocate money, but then we have to turn around and buy $300,000 worth of equipment to potentially do it, that kinda, you know, this would kinda maybe be a good way to dip our toes in the water and figure it out. I mean, obviously, we need to figure something out for mowing this year, but we could test it this year and see before making a full commitment, I think is, if I'm hearing what you're saying, right?
That's basically what I'm saying, yeah, and for this first year, whatever equipment we need, I think we just rent. It's
Is that
not,
possible?
Yeah, you can, I mean,
it's not ideal, but I don't wanna end up with a $100,000 or $200,000 piece of equipment that we only use for 1 year and then.
And then we realize it's not the right.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, you can rent, I mean, chippers are rentable, and same with the road graders. I think it was like, I was talking with the Chatham road guy there about rentals, and I think Caterpillar offered one, it was like $8,500 for a month to get one. But yeah, it's not gonna be cheap to obviously purchase equipment, it's kind of the price of doing business, but, I guess a lot of it boils down to, you know, I'm not trying to push anyone to, you know, get into hiring the mowing out. In essence, it's up to the board. I mean, if you're, you know, if we're not interested in doing more on the roads, we can do, you know, just keep mowing. I was just looking to try to improve. I do see a lot of drainage issues, and it's definitely gonna cause us a lot of expense in the future with repairs, and that's a concern for me. But, I understand your apprehension on wanting to buy a lot of equipment, but it will, stuff's expensive.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it comes down to, you know, just the nature of, you know, ideally, if we were gonna plan for doing something like this, we would have time, you know, like, we would have been
Right.
able to do it before you were even part, you know what I mean, like, last fall would have been the time to be thinking about this, hopefully, so I think that's also a piece of it, is just kind of being under the gun to make a decision. I mean, where do you sit on how you wanna handle this?
Yeah, so I would offer a mowing contract less the township garage and admin, and you know, if they don't take it, then they don't take it.
Was there one of the three that you had a preference for?
I mean, I'm just looking at numbers, I don't know, any other qualities.
So, do you know how long it takes to mow this property? Like, our firefighters could probably help out in the interim, like, we could
Ben and
potentially.
I came up here last, was it Thursday or Friday, and we mowed, and it was a couple hours, and we didn't do any trimming or anything, but it was just two of us mowing.
I mean, we could mow if needed. I mean, we got 3 people on shift, it just depends, and.
So I
If it
think
was,
that's-
if it was a third, I'd be okay with it. The last thing I want is for a whole.
I'm not saying add other
Yeah.
staff or anything, I'm just saying, we could put somebody on a mower and they have a radio on and they grab them when we get a call.
Like get some using the
That's exactly
mowers.
what the city does it.
I don't love that idea, but I
Yeah.
did hear that the fire district does own one of the mowers. We have 4 mowers, the fire district owns one of those
We used
mowers.
to do it, and
And,
then Rick started doing it.
yeah, I don't, if you think it'll work out, I just imagine somebody up in the front corner mowing grass and they get a call. They're not gonna
During
turn
the day, if we're here, I
They're
mean,
not-
if it's a serious call,
Chief will be
we're
on the
gonna
mower.
go and we're gonna figure it out. I mean,
Okay,
in the city, we'll go mow an entire station with a crew and one guy will be
Yeah.
on a mower and one guy will be trimming the other.
well, if we're gonna outsource it though, I think these groups want, at
Yeah.
least, they want
Yeah.
as much as possible, and
And the
the
idea
only
for
reason I
keeping
wanna
the-
keep the
yeah.
township garage
Just to be able to use
is
the
to keep the
equipment.
equipment in use. So if we took the township garage off and the fire department, then,
You know, much less.
yeah, but
Who is the outfit that, has Chatham's?
Last,
And they were the lowest
Yeah.
of the quotes as well. So,
37,050.
that was Outlast.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have their quote up right now, they were charging $250 a week for the township garage.
right.
So if we take that off,
It's
it would
like,
be just
so
under,
that'll bring it down to
it'd
just
be
under.
$985 a week.
Right, and I think we estimated like 30 weeks or something like that, so you're still talking about right around 30 grand it's just a matter of testing it this year and seeing if we can, you know, if that switch frees you up to do the maintenance and it makes sense.
Yeah, it'll definitely give us more time to start focusing our attention onto the roads and, like I said, with the drainage and, you know, the trees and stuff. I definitely cringe every time the windstorms come through, cause when's PD gonna call on a down tree, and it's a liability for the people driving too, and it's definitely hindering the roadside mowing, having all the trees in there too. I think it'd be wise to start focusing attention out there.
Okay,
Well, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion then to outsource our mowing to Outlast Lawn Care then.
Minus the garage.
Yeah, taking out the township garage then.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, sorry.
Matt, you can reach out and get that lined up.
Okay, I'll do.
Okay, don't go anywhere still. Then we have our salt contract for this coming, whatever you wanna think about winter. We have a
Carrie,
resolution.
before we start this all
Yes,
contract, I wanted to get your guys' opinion on the fourth mower. So we have 4 mowers.
okay, yeah,
We only have at any time 3 employees. I'm not sure why we have 4 mowers. I know one's owned by the fire district, but what do you guys think about liquidating one of the mowers? I'm not saying we gotta make a decision on it,
Yeah.
but I just wanna get your opinion. I don't see a reason to have 4 mowers sitting around,
No, we've
especially if
talked
we're
about-
outsourcing.
We've talked about, you know, looking at what redundant equipment we might have or what's maybe underutilized or not best utilized, so I'm certainly open for that. You know, and I think, you know, maybe Carrie and Matt can work on that for, you know, next meeting or the meeting after. 'Cause
Okay.
we're not time pressed obviously
Right.
to do it, but the longer it sits around, the less valuable
Yes.
so
it
you
is.
wanna look at, get some prices then, Matt, and see what we need to do then to,
But
Yeah, anything that's over 2,500 will have to go out for bid.
Yeah.
My recommendation would probably be like on Gov Deals.
So would you think that we should liquidate if we do, or if we sell one, should we sell the fire district one, or should we sell one of the township?
well, if we sell that, Chief will want the money, won't he?
We can buy a copier for that, or printer.
Yeah, I
There you
mean,
go, Chief.
I definitely think it's worth taking a look at
Okay.
what we have that we can look at, you know, maybe moving.
Right.
And maybe
Yeah.
come to the
Okay.
next meeting or,
Yeah.
you know, or the first one in May and be ready to kind of to action that,
Okay,
Mhm.
so.
go ahead, sorry.
And
I
that's
just
okay.
wanted to-
So, the salt agreement is up. I think we budgeted for 1,500 tonnes, for it in the budget for this year. How much do we want to order, given what we budgeted for?
Well, you have to take 85%.
Yeah.
I don't know that we'll definitely need that much, but I know we kind of finished the year on the lower side of things. Matt, what's your recommendation?
I would order the 1,500. I think it would be wise to get, 1,000 right off the bat here this spring to get that bin filled. It's not gonna be hard to make room for 500 more, right? That way we'll always keep things full, because as flighty as what things are with the market and so-called man-made shortages. We got by this winter, we cut back on the salt usage, which I wouldn't mind seeing, happening more anyways, because it is, the salt usage, heavy salt usage is really hard on the roads. But, to answer your question, I would order the 1,500, contract it, order 1,000 right off the bat, and then that won't be a problem to fill the,
Isn't there some kind of clause where if you order a certain amount, you can have 10 or 15% plus or minus of that or something? What is it?
10% over or under, I think it was, you could go, I think there's probably, I don't know, a couple hundred tons sitting in the bin right now, between 100 and 200.
So if we have flexibility to go up or down, I feel like we shouldn't max it out. I feel like we should peel it back 10% from what we,
We could do that, or, county still does, county still has a swap agreement or store, like, where we could,
I don't know, the way things have been going, I guess that's something we need to be checking on. See what,
okay.
if they're cooperative with that or don't wanna mess with us.
Cause that would that would make me feel a little more comfortable. I mean, granted, at the end of the day, if you were worst case scenario, if you can't take delivery, you pay a storage fee until you can. So I mean, it's not obviously what we wanna do, but
I mean, you can cut that, I don't think we'll have a hard time using it, I mean, you figure, you know, unless it's a mild winter and you don't get anything, I guess that would be the possibility of not.
because we're on the hook for
fulfilling
$12.75, and you said we're only,
There's
between
a couple
100 and 200.
There's probably a couple hundred down there if I had to guess, and, yeah.
yeah, I'm fine with that then. With the 15?
That's fine.
Okay.
That's what you guys think?
So I'll make the motion then.
Well, so you just have the contract?
Yeah,
there? Okay,
that's the resolution that we have to give back to them, sign it as a board and then give it back to them.
Yeah, no, I got that, but, just so that it's a little bit cleaner with what we've been doing, I do have resolution 2026-32, which is a resolution approving participation in the 2026 Ohio Department of Transportation Road Salt Contract and authorizing execution of the required participation agreement. But yes, we all need to wet sign that, and then Matt needs to make sure that that gets submitted,
Straight away.
Yes. because it does have a May 1st deadline. So, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-32.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Bala, yes?
Rowley, yes?
Kittle, yes.
Excellent. I'll go ahead and sign that, let's get that done. And it also, I think they asked for the resolution number on it, but, or no, that's the,
Yeah, it doesn't, it just.
sorry, no, that's the, other agreement.
So, okay, while you're signing that then, because we've got a lot of ditches that need cleaning, I met with, Sheriff Price 2 weeks ago now, I think it might have been even, to talk to him a little bit about maybe using some of their inmates to help clear some of our ditches. I have a meeting with Captain and and a lieutenant, I think it is, with Matt for next Thursday. So we're gonna talk to them a little bit more about maybe how we can work together and get some help cleaning out some of the ditches. But I just wanted to make the board aware that we will be meeting with them, to see whether we can work together. They just, I think last month did Montville's, they cleaned all Montville's and they do a number of the townships around us. And I just figured it would probably help them
Yeah.
cleaning them out,
No,
rather
we
than
usually-
our guys doing it.
It's been done in the township before.
But I figured it was a good
Yeah.
thing of use of, and collaboration with our law enforcement as well.
Well,
So-
it's free labor.
It is free labour, exactly. And then next on on the list is the street light for 162. I contacted Ohio Edison. It took a little while on the phone for 4 hours with them. They finally called me back today with a work order. He's going down there this week to have a look at the lamp itself to see how much it would cost if the board was to go ahead with it. But I figured the best thing, first of all, is to get a pricing, to see whether we want to move forward with it or not. I have a little.
This is at the, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
This is at the
162,
entrance
yeah.
to the, like right by the entrance to the country club and.
Yeah, and I
Really
have a
well
little
done.
concern about this because I went down there in the dark. There's enough light there from the parking lot. So it's kind of like, what do we want to do? I want to respect what the resident has asked to investigate this and to see whether it's something the board wants to take action on or not. We have roughly 600 and something lights in our township. It costs, each one's $11. So it would cost the township as well to do it and to install it and to maintain it over time. But once I get those numbers in from him, I will let the board know, and then we can make a final decision as to what we want to do.
Yeah, because I know when the country club was being built, there were a number of residents that were in that same development that had concerns over light pollution and whatnot from
That
the
one.
country club.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know that a street light would be the same type of thing, but I do think it's something that, we need to keep in mind as we're looking at doing it too, is,
He
like
is
you
measuring
said,
the light. He said he'll come at night time and measure how the difference
what
is
the,
for
what's
at the
already
country
there.
club, yeah, to see whether it is, because that's what I said to him. I said, if it isn't worth us having it, there's enough light there from the parking
Well,
lot.
if it's not gonna add, right, if it's
If
not
there
gonna
was
add
any point
anything
us doing it, but
significantly.
we're just checking it.
Okay.
And then we have Walnut Creek and Overlook. Matt?
Yeah, obviously I'd sent all three, I believe, the quote from Crossroads Asphalt. I'm still waiting, this week I'm supposed to meet with Melly Paving, who'll be doing our tar and chip. And I'm gonna be meeting with Sarver Paving, they're gonna give estimates to us for comparison on that job.
Right.
I suspect that Crossroads will probably be cheaper since their equipment's gonna be in town working right there on Lake Road. But for the sake of getting three prices, we're gonna have, you know, the other two places come in, just to make sure. Hopefully, I have prices for you for the 2 weeks from now meeting.
Did Crossroads give, did they give you an idea of when they would need to know in order to be able to do it?
Not really, there's some time here, I mean, since they're not, I don't know exactly when they're gonna be going in on that Lake Road project. I mean, it wasn't something we had to have a decision in a week or something. And I don't think we wanna wait till the middle of summer or nothing, but I guess I need to find out.
But we don't act until
I
the
think
next
we are.
meeting or
Yeah,
so.
we've got time.
Okay.
I do.
And then staffing then. We did put out a job advert for a full-time person. I know we're talking with Matt and Zen. I think it would be something that the board, we need to take action on. So I don't know whether we want to set up some meetings and do some interviews. I personally have picked out my top 3. I know Matt has done the same, and I know I've forwarded them all, we've all got things, so is it something that the board want to move forward on then, so we can start making these interviews?
Yeah, I absolutely think it's beneficial to have 3 members. I mean, it's such a small team. If one person gets sick or hurt and is out for a long time, or even just a short time on vacation, it really puts a strain on the department. So I think 3 people is an appropriate staffing for that.
So have you got any availability, so we can look at when we
Well, I
can?
was just saying, I think that's what you're asking, how do you wanna
Yes.
handle the interview process?
Do you want to do it as a full board, or?
I mean, I'm open either way. I mean, we kinda handle the fire department, the chief handles his staffing, you know, and he knows what he needs to do. I'm comfortable letting, Matt and Carrie potentially do at least the initial screen.
Yep.
And then an interview process, and then maybe we do, before we make a formal action, have the preferred candidate come in for kind of a final meet and greet, just to make sure
Yeah.
that there isn't anything that.
Pops up. Yeah.
Right, I mean,
I think that's a good process, yeah.
And you've seen all their resumes anyway, so if there's any in there that, I'll give you my top 3, I think 3 or 4, I think it was 3, but I think a new one came in recently that I might review a bit more. And then if there's any that you want us to interview, that's not in our top ones, we'll add that to it, and then Matt and I can get together and start the interview process, okay?
yeah,
And then
Sounds
we'll
good.
do it
I'm
this
good with
week.
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful, thank you.
It should make it easier too for scheduling with
Yeah,
the candidates than having to try to get all 3 of us and then also, publish a meeting and whatnot, so I'm good with that.
okay. So then, two little things. In our, last week when we were doing the pay, things, you asked the question about Silco. We did a bit of research, a little digging. We found contracts back to 2019. So it is a long-standing thing that we've had within the township. But then when talking with Matt and then with Chief, something that came up is we use 2 different companies, one for the township and one for the fire department. So I was talking to Chief about this, is do we go in on one contract and use Chief's one and pay a portion of the bill, doing it that way? Because when Silco have been here, they're supposed to contact the fire department, and Tim or whoever else is their person who does it. I don't know what you call them now. Fire inspectors, that's it. Sorry, Chief.
Witness the tests and inspection.
And Silco wasn't doing that?
No, they weren't contacting them, so that luckily Matt and Ben were there and did take it through and took the information and passed it on, but we're seeing a disjoint there of what's going on. So I would like us to look at amalgamating as to one company, and then we would have to figure out a proportion of what we pay to the fire department for it, maybe, or do we
Well-
just bill it all to chief?
No, I mean,
No,
but I'm sure we can work that out with
They can bill
the
separately.
vendor as well,
They
potentially.
could potentially bill separately. It's
Right.
just
Yeah.
counting extinguishers and testing extinguishers. You don't have an alarm system there, so.
no. I know it, they check out exit
Do we-
lights for
Exit
battery.
Do we have any like standing commitment with Silco?
That's
mean,
what I
they've obviously already done the testing for this
Yeah.
year, so we're good there, but I mean, maybe double check that, but I do
That's what
think
I'm
that it
gonna
probably
check,
makes
yeah.
more sense, especially if we're having quality issues, or,
Yeah.
you know, communication issues with them
With
not
them.
following the process.
So that's something that Matt and I will work on as well then
Okay.
this week then to allow and do it. And then you asked for the invoice for the,
Yeah, for the sign.
Sign, you got that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Perfect.
just needed Sherry to have a copy of
yeah,
it for.
that's okay. So I just
for
wanted to
proper
make sure that
financials.
we,
Yep.
all of those had come out then.
Okay.
And I think that's everything for service.
Okay.
Thank you, Matt.
For zoning, obviously our zoning inspector unfortunately isn't able to be with us because the zoning commission is meeting right now down at the town hall. But really the two issues that we have going on with zoning is obviously we have our open board positions. We have both, BZA and zoning commission positions. The, zoning board chairs and Karen were able to interview most of the potential applicants. I believe you guys both received emails with kind of a summary. I don't know, I'd kind of like to wait for the last one or two potentially
I
to be
did talk to
interviewed.
one of them and she has withdrawn.
Which one?
Jenna has withdrawn.
She did withdraw?
Yeah,
So I mean, I don't know.
doesn't have the time commitment yet.
Okay, well, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, I don't know where your guys' thoughts were. Cause obviously we, both boards are operational right now. We're just trying to round out, you know, some positions and some, alternates.
Right,
So,
Karen recommended one person for the zoning commission. There's currently an open board position, not an alternate on the
right,
zoning
on the zoning
commission.
commission, yep.
I would be okay filling that if you wanted to, based on her recommendation, and then we could wait for the alternates for the next, after they had a chance to interview anybody else, unless you wanna wait for all of it.
No, I'm okay with that. I mean, like we've talked about, we've, that's kind of the practice that we've adopted over the last bit of time here is allowing the, you know, the people that are on those boards to have the opportunity to do the interviews and then make their recommendations. I believe you're talking, the candidate that you're speaking about's actually been, you know, has expressed interest for multiple years now, on doing that. And I would be absolutely comfortable with appointing, Mr. Hughes to, the zoning commission. And help me out, when was your term up?
I think it expired in 2027.
Okay, so, I would, you know, we can prepare, an appointment resolution like we've done in the past for the next meeting, but, I would be perfectly fine. They don't meet
Well, if you
again,
don't have,
they don't meet again until then, so why don't, you know, I mean,
yeah, okay.
I'll
We'll
prepare a
hold it until
resolution for that, but I think, you know,
Right.
from a decision standpoint, you know, Carrie, what are your, are you?
No,
are you
I
comfortable with
read,
that?
yeah, I am very comfortable. I read Karen's, email and I think that's a good fit.
So, yeah, so we'll prepare that based
Okay.
on, Tim taking the position, and then we can make it formal at the
Right.
next meeting, and then he'll be ready for the next zoning commission
That's perfect.
situation, okay?
Yeah, I just wanna get that open position filled.
Yeah, that's fine.
Alternates aren't quite as urgent to me, but, I still like to have a full board, you know, a full,
Yes, agreed.
Mhm.
The other issue, that we potentially had, and I forwarded you guys, an email last week, maybe the week before, you know, but since the last meeting at 6556 Polker Road, there's been, there was a fire, last year, and the cleanup hasn't been kind of up to snuff. But if we're going to address the concerns and the complaints that we've been getting, ultimately, you know, before we start down the path, any cleanup or enforcement is ultimately gonna fall under the same type of setup of what happened over at Hunter Drive. Not maybe on the same scale, but but it's still the same process of, reaching out to the homeowner, or the property owner, expressing, where the violations are, potentially holding a public hearing, potentially following through to, a forced cleanup if we can't get compliance. So there's obviously a lot of legwork that goes into that, and I wanted to obviously not make any formal decisions tonight, but just, it's a rather large undertaking that potentially comes with a pretty significant cost, so potentially. So I wanted to kind of see where the board was on having read the complaints and seeing what that situation is, if it's something that there was any appetite to go on, or if we should still try to maybe just see how it resolves itself in the short term.
Now, let me make sure I understand it, any costs that are incurred could be applied to their tax?
Correct, if through the formal process, there's a cleanup that is initiated by the township, it does get assessed to the property tax bill, and in theory eventually gets recouped,
Okay.
at some point. The question becomes, especially since this is now essentially a vacant lot, you have that element that's in there as well. So a potential cleanup with costs may be more difficult to recoup. Not saying that that's the only decision point, but that's why I thought it was probably prudent for us to at least discuss it, and then also so that we can maybe give the people in that area that have expressed concerns over the property, we can give them some guidance on whether it's something that we're actively pursuing, or if, it just doesn't make sense. It's a tough situation, right? Like,
Right.
I mean, I'd say best case scenario, it's a cleanup that we may recoup our costs on, again, not knowing ultimately what the scope winds up being, but, if we go down that route, there's a good chance that we won't recoup all of our costs. So we need to know that going in, and see if it's still something that we wanna even consider before we commit the time, cause it's gonna be a significant time commitment for our zoning department, and then also working with the prosecutor's office to even consider
Get to the point that we can clean up.
doing that. So like, again, I don't wanna put the cart before the horse, but, if we get to that point, it's like, hey, we're probably not gonna be able to recoup the cost from it. If that's gonna be a deal breaker for you, we probably don't wanna even
What's
pursue it. Don't ask me that.
What's the level of effort to clean it? Like, I don't know how much debris, what needs cleaned up.
The tough part is, there's probably gonna be some outside assistance that's gonna be needed, because there are potential for there to be chemicals and other type of contaminants that are involved in this as well. So it could get to be expensive. Now, I don't know that we'll have to bear all that cost. Some of it may, the county or the EPA may assist with some of that, but more than likely it'll be a bill that we'll have to look at. But I know, a couple of the people that have been reaching out to the township over the last few years, on this situation would really like maybe just some guidance on where it's gonna go, and if it's not gonna go anywhere, at least then they can kind of move forward with that piece of it.
I think it's obviously been a long stint of issues for many years looking at the file, and I think it's something that we do need to really look at to see with the cleanup side of things. Is there any way of getting pricing in place before we start down the rabbit hole?
Probably not.
No.
I mean, we won't get to the final leg of it without knowing what the cost is, but, we should probably, we can start with having, I know Tom's already reached out to the property owner and had some preliminary conversations. There's talk of, him improving the property, but that conversation's been ongoing since, for my entire term,
Yeah.
So whether or not that's actually gonna come to fruition is, I can't handicap that piece of it. So we can start the process, of at least maybe initiating that conversation on the, potential nuisance determination, and kind of see where it goes. And if that opens up a dialogue with the property owner, we can go from there. And if it doesn't, we meet again in 2 weeks, but, I just wanna make sure everybody's kinda on
No,
board that it's probably, if it's something that we should pursue.
Yeah, I think I would support pursuing it. I think we need to see how far it goes and see what kind of reaction we get, and before we incur any
Yeah.
real costs.
So I'll have Tom and Karen start the process, we'll keep it in-house internally before we go anywhere else with it. And then, hopefully be able to report back with at least something for the next meeting.
Yeah.
Good?
Okay, Yep,
Alright.
good, yep.
Lieutenant Wagner?
Thank you. I don't have anything to add to that report.
Alright, thank you.
I have a question for him, for the police department.
Okay.
I got you on the spot there. I have had several conversations with Lieutenant Markham about parking in the park, in the old park, in the old amusement park drive, semi-trucks have been parking there. So we just had one in there today, and we called, and an officer responded. And he said, well, first of all, Lieutenant Markham said he went to the Medina County Park District, and they said they don't want semis parking in that area. So when we called today, the officer came out, and he said it's hard to enforce because there aren't any signs that say no parking. So he says, they don't know, they can't park there, you can't enforce it. So I don't know how to get signs posted so that drivers know not to park there. I don't know if that's us or the
We'll look
Lafayette.
into it.
Okay. Thank you.
Correspondence, we had, just received notice, I mean, I think there's been stuff that's been put out, but, the county sanitary engineers are gonna be doing a water main replacement along Chippewa Lake, and they started to put up the markers, so just if anybody's seeing those, the water lines in there, they're gonna be doing work this summer and fall, spring, summer, and fall, because it'll be a significant project. And then we did receive two facilities use request forms from the Lions Club. One is for the Lions Club plant sale on May 9th. They use that lot at the corner of Chippewa and Lake that's owned by the township. And then they also use the Lions Park, or the actual park, for their 4th of July parade. So we have both of those on here. And then we also have their certificate of insurance for both of those. I don't have any additional, there's really nothing as far as additional restrictions or anything that we would need to place on either of those, in my opinion. Did you guys both get a chance to look at those? Yeah. I think the only thing that maybe would be wise for us to look at is, because of the nature of the pavilion over at Lions Park, it might be something that's worth us looking at. Maybe that's a standalone, policy, kind of like what we have for the town hall. Because as more and more people get a chance to see it and what's there, there may be people, right now we have no way of addressing like somebody that maybe wants to rent it for a picnic or a barbecue or just like people use the town hall, So something to look at for the
Yeah.
future, but,
Is there a rental fee with that facility?
I had looked into when Rick and I had started discussing about if people started requesting to rent or reserve the pavilion, and getting there would be a wooden box or something that you could put up there with a list of the monthly rentals. Of course, it would need to be updated if it was people rent
right, so
different
it's
things.
like a first come, first
But
served verse.
But then, so if people come, they can go look at that and say let's go hang out there, and then they're like, oh, well, at 1 o'clock there's a graduation party
Yeah,
or
the
something.
parks use a similar type of
Yes,
setup.
yes, and I also had looked at pricing at the parks, like how much they charge for day rentals, half-day rentals versus residents versus non-residents, so that we could get an idea of what we would want to charge. Obviously, it's not as much as town hall, because that's a enclosed structure, but
How much is the town hall one?
Town hall is 125 per 9-hour time slot.
Cause I think that's roughly what the park charge for the pavilion just here.
It, for
For just
a
that
pavilion?
yeah.
It was around, when I looked for a resident, it was like $35 for like
That was a
our type
smaller
of
one, wasn't
pavilion.
it? Yeah.
And then like, it might have been 60 for a non-resident, and I don't know if it was daily rentals or not, cause I looked at it so long ago when they first built the pavilion and we haven't revisited it.
So I think that's something we just have to
Yeah,
look at then.
And Kristen and I can work on that, you know, for the next meeting or two, you know, to maybe have something that's more,
Cause
Set for
literally
the-
we would just modify what we already have for the town hall, take anything out that doesn't pertain.
but I think it would be good to have something for that. I mean, obviously this works in this case, but I don't think that we wanna be necessarily forcing everybody to do a facilities use policy for, that's more set up to be able to be used as a community property, so.
Cause
Um,
it does get used quite, I mean, I know that, like the
Well,
service department go and do the trash
Informal-
there. Yeah,
informally now,
doesn't it? Yeah.
And that's the way it'll always be. I mean, people use the pavilions at the parks all the time and stuff like that, and I think that's the way we want it to be. But to Kristen's point, like if somebody does wanna have a scheduled event there, it would be nice to be able to offer that
Yeah,
to them, you know, as a rental. Now, obviously, we can do the same thing with that we do at the town hall for like 501c3s or other, you know, nonprofit organizations and waive the fees. You know, but I think it's something that maybe that area might warrant kind of its own.
and it would be
Policy
good to
like this.
track to see the usage as well,
Alright.
formally.
Well, for now, I would make the motion to approve both, facilities use requests of the Chippewa Lake Lions Club, as discussed.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unresolved business, the first thing we have under there is, and we finally got an email, did everybody get a chance to read through that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nick, did you get
I
to
did,
read it,
yeah.
the prosecution thing? So, back in January, I contacted the prosecutor's office with some guidance on our YouTube channel, and how our meetings are recorded. One of the things that came about from this, when I checked the records, there was never a time where the YouTube channel was ever formally adopted by the board and officially taken on. So I asked for some guidance on that side of things. Some of the key things that came out from the prosecutor's office, one of the things that they did recommend is that the board do pass a resolution to recognise the account of the official YouTube channel to regulate access and content. Another thing that they pointed out was the oversight that's best achieved by having a township employee record the meetings only using township-owned equipment. The video recordings are discretionary and not required by law and unofficial rules of procedure. Because one thing I think that the residents, they've really got used to seeing us, you know, having access to the video. So while we have this recording in place and you get to see the videos, they're not statutory. So they're a courtesy that the township has provided and residents have provided. So one thing that I wanted to look at is a little bit of protecting the township by, if we were to adopt this, take it on and then appoint one person who records it. And one thing that came out, like I just said, is the prosecution said that we do need to be only using township equipment, and it should only be a admin or a designated person to record it who works for the township. This protects us legally, and also part of that then came in is to have a resolution put in place to adopt it. So I did put one together, but it's not the same format because for some reason I couldn't get it to upload to change it though. But I would like the board to consider then maybe formally adopting whether we want to do that or not, the YouTube channel.
So a resolution to adopt, to formally recognize
Yes.
the YouTube channel. No, I think from the prosecutors, well, I don't know, did you have anything you wanted to know? Okay. The takeaway that I had is I, you know, again, as I stated, since we're using that, you know, and that's an official recording, I do think that we want to put something in place, a resolution around, you know, acknowledging that that's the official recording of the township, and kind of what our internal rules are for handling that. As far as actually designating a specific person or something that goes as far as designating an official recording, the way that I read the guidance from the prosecutor's office is if we go too far with establishing too much formality around an actual physical requirement or physical recording, then you are actually, you know, expanding what becomes the official record of the meeting. And for clarity's sake, I think that you wanna stick with, you know, the statutory setup now where it's the minutes are the official recording. So I wouldn't go as far as where we had originally started with like an actual, you know, designated official meeting recorder, who it is, and that kind of stuff. But I do think it's good to kind of formalize the, you know, the YouTube channel as the official channel of the township, and then obviously build in some redundancy, because I'm not even sure, I think right now Kristen's the only one that even has access to it.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. I mean, it
So-
was Sherry, and then she gave me the login.
Right, so I think if we go there, then just like anything else that we've done, right, we should have some sort of, you know, structure in place to make sure, you know, that the roles are defined, what the expectations are for each person in there are, and then also, you know, kind of what the contingencies are, you know, in case Kristen wins the lottery and disappears on us. So,
Yeah, so what I do is then I'll forward this on to you, what I
Okay.
kind of put together, because I know you I didn't have time to send
That's
it off, I literally
yeah,
just did it at 6:30 tonight.
we got the guidance from the prosecutor's office
Yeah.
last night.
Yeah, it was, yeah, so, I'll forward that on to you
Okay.
guys, so you can review it, okay?
Alright, we're still probably in the same standpoint with the
Yeah.
employee handbook.
Do we want to, I was talking with the staff, I have kind of put some things together now, enough so that we've got, a job description for each person. I put together, a packet in which, even with onboarding and different things like that, I started, you know, something to look at that and reviewing the handbook. I really would like us now to sort of, as a board, to look at the handbook, and to look at this process. I'll share all the things that I've done so far with you all, so you can see it. And I'd like feedback from our employees as well, because I think it's important that when we have these processes in place, they get to have a look at it,
I was gonna say, I
with
did,
opinions on things.
and I don't know, it might have been before you took office, but Karen has shared.
I've seen all hers,
Did-
yeah, she
okay,
sent it to me,
I was
yeah.
hoping if she had,
Yeah.
I can definitely
So,
forward
I
it
mean,
to you, but.
I've talked to Kristen at length, you know, we've gone over it, Karen and I have talked a little bit about this. Even simple things like, a disciplinary procedure in place, a policy, a procedure where when we're doing the appraisals, how do we document the appraisals, how we're reviewing people's, side of things. Something else I was looking at that I put together as well is what if one of the employees has a complaint? What's the process there for that? So I kind of looked at a lot of things, and then I was looking at the handbook, and there are a few things that we're no longer compliant on, that we would need to review anyway, but I just thought now is probably a good time to start thinking about how we put this all together and collaborate.
Yeah.
And maybe do a work session so we can get that in our mind to start planning this out.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's obviously been something that we've discussed at length, you know, and especially based on the feedback, you know, that Karen had provided. You know, there's obviously some things that have happened just in the world since
Yeah.
that handbook was adopted in 2013, so, or 2011? No, November 11th, 2013.
Yeah,
Um,
that's it.
But so absolutely, I think that that's something that's very, very beneficial, and I do think if we schedule a work session like that, we should make every effort that we can to get as many of the employees involved in doing something like that, because there are so many things, you know, that they're gonna think of from the other side of the table
That's it.
than what we think of, that it's good to have them at the table while we're having those
Yeah.
conversations, because again, it's,
Because I did that with
Yeah.
their job descriptions, you know, when I was talking to Karen, and I said, I can pull off information and think about it, but I'm not you. And I did the same with Kristen. I asked her, you know, your position to give me some more feedback. I sent a rough guidance and she kind of gave me a lot more pointers. And there's things that she does that we don't even know she does. So it's really useful to have their feedback.
100%. The next item on there is the reserve funding study. We've talked about this, you know, I brought it up a couple of meetings ago. And it's actually kind of in line with some of the stuff that you're seeing going on at the county level right now. You know, one of the property taxes are a big conversation that's being had right now. And one of the big, I guess, changes with some of the legislation of what they're trying to put through in Columbus to kind of help mitigate some of this is making any political subdivision, whether it's a township, a city, a village, a school, the county, whoever, justify the reserves that they carry over from year to year. I think we've always been pretty responsible in Lafayette Township with the reserves and not, you know, not just accumulating funds for whatever and not being able to explain that. But one of the things that's going to come from this legislation is there is gonna be a lot more scrutiny at the county level when they go through the budget commission, when we submit our tax budget at the beginning of the year, and then they look at what we have on hand. You know, we're gonna be responsible for justifying why we're carrying over what we're carrying over, and doing something like this kind of helps not only justify what we have on hand, but also helps us get a C4, like, I mean, they come out and they look at all of our facilities and our equipment, and they can tell us, like, look, your useful life is X, you're probably going to need to replace these things in 5, 10, 15, 30 years, and they help put together a plan for that, so we can start funding those, you know, future obligations and kind of set up that 5, 10, 20-year plan. The window that they look at is over 30 years. The quote for both, you know, the hard assets for the township and for the fire district was just under 10 grand. You know, I don't necessarily need you guys to jump on board with doing it right now, but if there's no appetite for doing it, we can just, you kind of table this until next year potentially, and maybe revisit it later. But if it's something that you guys are still thinking that there's a chance that we might want to take action on, you know, I'm of the belief that it's prudent to do this sooner rather than later, but we also have kind of a lot of things going on budget-wise that, you know, might take priority as well, so.
I walked the facility with Matt, last week before, I think it was. Some of the things are not up to code, some of the buildings, you know, the work that needs to be done. So looking long term, we do need to start planning for some of the improvements that we're gonna need to be making on the township side. And we need to start budgeting for it because it's only gonna get more expensive. But so I would like to have a plan. I would like us to do this and to move forward with the planning side of things. It's a bit of a hard thing to swallow, nearly $9,000 for someone to tell me, I know we need to do these things, but we're not architects, we're not, and we would have to somehow find out and get outsource someone to come and have a look at those things. So do they look at, not just the structure, but will they plan out and help us with changing the facilities that we've got to change, or are they just looking to say, hey, you've got to do this?
Well, I guess maybe I need a little more clarity. They help you assess the condition of all of the facilities that we have. If we wanted them to maybe forecast that is repair and replace potentially, aspect of it. If you're talking about like, hey, will they forecast, they'll help forecast like the demographics and what things look like over time, but they're not gonna necessarily come in and say, you know, we project your population is gonna double, so you're gonna need to completely replace your building. They're not gonna go that far, but they're gonna come in and they're gonna say, hey, you know, this building, for example, was built in 2016, 2017, and the roof is, you know, very, very early in its useful life, or the type of condition is, so you're not gonna need to replace that for probably 25 years. Or whereas at the town hall or one of the other buildings or one of the other structures, they may say, hey, you know, you're probably gonna need to do that roof, or you're gonna need to replace the windows, or, you know, whatever it is, they kinda help put all that stuff together. And then from a cost standpoint, again, like I said, the township facilities and all the buildings was $9,080, was the fee for that, and then the quote for doing, all of the vehicles was $500. So all of the fleet and equipment for both the fire department and the,
I don't think we need to do the vehicle side. I think the vehicles, we kind of know what we need to do. I think the fire, we know with the fire department what's needed as such. I just think 500 we could use on, and put it towards the 9,000, and we know.
we could, I think my piece of it is, well, yeah, I mean, I'm good either way. Like I said, I think for me, the big thing is you have somebody who's got a little more credibility going in front of the budget commission, or at least using their reports as justification versus
Why we're holding,
three trustees that may or may not have. I know Nick's got a little more experience, obviously, in this side of things. And actually, maybe this is the perfect
what are
time.
your
Like,
thoughts?
what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so, I don't wanna make a decision tonight on this, I'd
Okay.
like to wait at least another 2 weeks, but, I think in early January, we were supposed to come up with a list of assets. That was before I was in office. So I guess, what, do I just need to ask Sherry for that
Yes.
report?
And
Okay, so-
Matt might
I can
have a
send it
copy.
to you, yeah.
There you go.
I've got
But
it.
is that just township, or is that fire department as well? Fire
That
district?
was just service, that
No,
match, remember
service.
the list
Chief's
I
got
got you
this.
to do?
Okay.
Yeah.
That was just
Just service.
service,
I would like to
yeah.
just see the total list of assets and go from there, and then, I wanna
Yeah,
review their
that's fine.
scope of work a little bit closer and understand, like, what all are they looking at? Are they looking at, well, I mean, you mentioned roofs and
Yeah, no, and that's perfectly fine. I'll send
HVAC
you,
equipment and,
I think I already sent you
Yeah.
the paperwork, but I'll send you the
Okay.
contact as well. That way you can
Okay.
reach out to
Okay.
the firm as well
okay.
to get some familiarity with
Yeah.
it and ask the questions. Because again, I would like to get your feedback on it because it's way more in your
Yeah.
lane.
Yeah, I have
So-
a hard time spending that kind of money for something that I've.
Perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you may identify a better way for us to solve the exact same problem, so I'm absolutely on board with that. I just didn't, like I said, wanna keep it on there if there was no appetite for looking into this. So we'll keep working on that one. I think we're in the same place with the public records request, policy. We have obviously our public records policy in place. I think that's perfectly fine. It's, basically an OTA template that's pretty solid. What we need to talk about is maybe kind of what our internal procedures are to make it a little more efficient. I know there was a lot of transition last year. There were a couple of public records that requests that I don't think it was through any fault of any one person. It was just, somebody thought this person was handling it, they thought this person was handling it, things didn't get handed off or responded, and in some cases, residents I don't think followed up, which isn't their fault. We don't wanna put that obligation on them, but at the same time, like, we weren't not responding to things from a lack of a desire
Right.
to fill the records. So I think if we, as a board, can come up with a policy that says, or at least internal procedures of here's how they're expected to be handled. I've already kind of started the conversation a little bit with Sherry. I encourage both of you to talk to her about that because, again, she's the official keeper of the records, but that doesn't mean she needs to be the one that's fulfilling all of those.
Right.
So if we're going to have, and I know Kristen currently does a lot of that work with her, but we're kind of putting Kristen in that spot if we haven't really defined what our expectations are of her. So I would like us to maybe formalize that a little bit more. So if everybody could kind of maybe
Absolutely.
have that conversation
Yeah.
with Sherry in the next 2 weeks,
yeah.
and then maybe we can have
Okay.
some more ideas on exactly how we wanna handle that for the
Right.
next meeting.
Because I've also noticed sometimes they come in, like we had one come in on the contact one, didn't we, the other day? And
Well, the problem with that is, so the old way that it used to come in through the contact us is that it would be in one big group email and we could all see the initial email. And now I've talked to KGC and he said for some reason that's not possible through our new website.
With
or-
Civic Plus, yeah, the way the
So-
emails are done.
So it's sent to us individually. Now, so what I have done is that when one comes in, and I'm usually, if I'm at my desk, I'm the first one to probably see it. So then I try and do a reply all and like add everybody in. I got this, I
Right, yeah.
responded, whatever, so that you know, everybody's not sending the same information
Cause
to
I
that
sent
person.
it to you thinking, have we
Well,
missed it?
And that's-
Yeah,
and
so
that's
if it
perfect.
says
Yeah.
contact us at the top, there's a contact us
Yeah.
email that will go to you three, me and Sherry. So that way, and then I have been logging them, anything that I get, I will log into, the OneDrive
The one that you sent.
PRR list. So that's the list that's all, cause it's safe there in the
Yeah.
OneDrive.
But to her, point, like, so what I'm talking about with the policy, right, is, you know, if we put, what does Matt do if he gets a public records request? I doubt that it's gonna happen very often, but what is Matt supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
Or if we get one, you know, I think each of us individually would try to fulfill whatever we could or go get it. But if there isn't a process for, hey, anybody in the township,
Right.
everybody should know, like, if we get a public records request that comes in, immediately, you know, you let
Everybody
Kristen know.
needs to
It-
let
it-
me know so
yeah,
that I
so
can
it's-
record it in the list.
And now
Cause
there's
it
a
needs to be
track,
involved, yeah.
and then, obviously, everybody has visibility to where it is, and then depending on what it is that needs to be handled, we can all pitch in to do that, so that the entire burden of all of the requests doesn't fall solely on
Yeah.
Sherry and even Kristen, cause sometimes it's for things that we possess individually. So yeah, I'd like to be able to kinda get that ironed out, you know,
Absolutely.
by the
So-
next meeting, or worst case, so, you know, like I said, each of you please have a conversation with Sherry, just so that you kinda know where she's at too, cause we don't wanna create rules that make her job
Right.
more difficult. The idea is to make this easier for everybody and be more responsive to the requests that comes in, so that the residents get the things that they're asking for
Right.
more quickly.
Kristen, on that list, that PRR list,
Mhm.
is there like a checkbox or a completed, like?
There's columns, it's an Excel file.
Yes.
And there's columns that says the date it was received, how it was received, who it was, who's the requester, who's fulfilling it, date of acknowledgement and date of fulfillment. And then there's a column that says like what the request was, so that we know
Yeah.
what it was, and then notes if needed,
Okay.
on the side. So what I've done is I've, per Justin's just said, that me and Sherry have editing where we can add and edit and do whatever, and you guys can all view it so that you can always see the updates of if something's not fulfilled, or when did that come in, when was it fulfilled, that kind of thing. And I've also been keeping a file of, anything that pertain, like their fulfillment, so that in case it's asked for again, or just so, you know, we have a record track of it digitally as well.
Well, and I don't know, I think Kristen's probably already doing it, but if not, here's another perfect example, is we should probably have a process for retaining what we provide in case there's ever a question. You know, we have one where, you know, I think, again, nobody was doing anything to try to like not do what was right, but we presented, there was a request that came in, and they wanted to pick up a physical copy of it, so we gave them a physical copy, and now there's a question over what we gave, what was produced, and it's like, well, we gave them everything that they asked for, and it's like, okay, well, how do we know, right? So we have the ability to, so again, this is just one of those things that you don't necessarily think of in the moment, but if we sit down and we come up with a good policy for it, like,
Maybe,
hey, there's, we
and
keep
speaking of that, make a column that says type of,
well, even.
file produced,
if
you know,
we produce
hard
things
copy,
digitally,
digital.
we can keep the digital record. If it's something that somebody wants printed copies, we can just run them through the scanner before we give them, and here's, so that if ever there comes up a question, right? But these are the types of things that, you know, you learn where the deficiencies are by having an issue,
Right.
but let's address them so that we don't have the issue again. And then at the same time too, all of our employees know exactly what's expected of them, so it isn't a, well, I thought you were doing X, Y, or Z, and it's like, well, no, we didn't spell that out clearly, so I think we need to. Everybody good with
Yep.
that? Okay. So on to new business, the first item that I had, we talked about a little bit, obviously during the budgeting meeting, we talked about, we have the ball fields that are obviously our responsibility to maintain, but the youth baseball organizations that utilize that field, they've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into actually doing the physical labor and maintaining those. I was talking with Mike Biscup at, Mac Baseball, and one of the things that, they could really use is some additional field mix and, top dressing to go on there. The vendor, is Oscar Brugman out in Manawa, and the field mix is, $49.35 a ton. They feel that they need 60 ton to get through the season. That cost would be $29.61. And then the top dressing, comes from Ag Design. It's $90 a ton. 20 tons would get them through the season. That would be, $1,800. So you're looking at just under $5,000, that we've already kind of budgeted through the process out of, supplies for the service department for the ball fields.
Right.
I would like to go ahead and, get those ordered and have them delivered so that they can get the season started. So, any discussion or questions on any of that?
It was in the budget, I think it's.
We talked about it
Yeah.
during the budgeting, and it was what we factored into,
That was dirt, wasn't it? I think we did.
well, we called it
We
dirt,
called it
but
dirt, I think, yeah, so we
but,
did, I think we budgeted 9,000, I think it was, from
it
memory.
was definitely over 5.
Yeah, I think it was
Cause
9.
originally they thought, it was gonna be a little more expensive, and, we blended it into a line item with all of the other, supplies and equipment, or supplies, operating supplies.
Okay.
It was factored in there with that. So,
I did check my notes, and
Yeah.
I do remember it being 9,000, so yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
okay, I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Next, health insurance renewal, new agent of record. We talked at the last meeting, we did go ahead and change the insurance broker that's servicing the account. Scott Nasi at GDK, he's already been able to, Sherry was fantastic getting everything facilitated for the agent of record. He's already been out to market. I actually spoke with him earlier today, and I lost my little note. But he was able to take it to market, 9, I believe it was 9, entities either opted to decline because of size or location. But he was able to get quotes from 6 other insurers, 5 of which came in below our current. He has gone back to, our current insurer and presented them with the options to see if they're gonna give us a more competitive bid. We'll be getting the details of everything in the next, week or so, hopefully, obviously in advance of our May 1st renewal. Hopefully Scott will be able to come to the meeting on the 28th to kind of go over some of that stuff with us as well. May or may not be what we opt to go with, but the lowest, just so that the residents are aware, the lowest quote so far is a 24% reduction for the exact same plan,
Same plan.
with another insurer. So, the switch of brokers, looks to have been, the right move, and we'll continue to kind of go down that path. Hopefully have more info, like I said, at the next meeting.
So if the deadline's May 1st, and we meet on the 28th, is it, hopefully Scott will give us some
Yes.
information ahead of that meeting so we can make a decision.
Correct, yeah.
We need to make a decision.
Right, like I said, because he's got more competitive quotes now, he has leverage to go back to our original insurer. They may come back with something, and then, it makes sense to not make a change, maybe we
Right,
do,
yeah.
but we'll have, within the next week, Scott should have that information to
Okay.
us to be able to start evaluating, so yes, we will be able to make a decision before that May 1st renewal deadline. The next item we have on here is, the Medina County Township Association 2026-2027 membership. There's my sheet. It was 9 quotes. Alright. So we have the Medina County Township Association's 2026-2027 active membership dues. And this is the county level through the OTA. We've typically done the active members or the active members are the elected officials. So the 3 trustees, the fiscal officer, that's 4. Then there's also an additional affiliate, those are $100 each for the year. And then the affiliate membership is for employees and board members. It's $50. So we currently have the potential for 14 board members ultimately, 5 and 5 with 2 alternates on each. You know, I would say we have Karen, Kristen, and Tom in the office. Ben and Matt, I think both could benefit from it. And I would probably put at least Chief on. I don't know
I
if,
think I'm on it,
currently,
yeah.
and I don't know, Chief, I mean, you've had a chance to kind of see what's in there. Is there anybody within the fire department that would benefit from those additional trainings, or is there better training elsewhere for them? I mean, you can share that stuff with them.
Yeah, right, yeah, it's easy. I mean, it's just online courses and stuff.
Right.
They're beneficial to directors and stuff like that, yeah.
So, you know, based on what we just discussed, that would be the 4 active members, that would be a total of 20 affiliate members,
$1,400.
so $1,400. So unless there's somebody that you think we're missing or anybody else that we should potentially include, that's where I would be looking at, you know, kind of feeling it's the best. I know a lot of our board members, BZA, zoning commission, because there isn't a lot of additional training that's available to them in other places that
Right.
isn't sometimes expensive, you know, to send them to, or to try to bring somebody in to do that. I know we were lucky, they arranged for Mike Lyons from the prosecutor's office to come in and to do some stuff with the BZA for, you know, holding a hearing. But sometimes it's tough to find that additional training. I think it's, you know,
$50 per person.
pays for itself,
the year.
yeah.
We had one the other day, which was all about the data centers.
Yeah, and it's unlimited, so I mean, you
Yeah.
can watch as many of those on there as they want. So I would make the motion to approve, Medina County Township Association membership for 4 active members, 20 affiliate members, total cost of $1,400.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright, we already talked about the Greater Chamber of Commerce. The last issue I had on here, I just wanted to address an issue that had come up regarding repositioning of some of the township's interior security cameras. I was reviewing camera footage at the request or at a concern that was raised by one of our employees, and then we received a subsequent public records request. And what I observed was, you know, the camera being physically manipulated, moved towards an employee workspace as opposed to on the exterior windows. And I just wanted to try to get an understanding of, you know, what the reasoning was behind making the move, and then under what authority that was done. And then once we kind of have that discussion, we can figure out maybe what's the best way to kind of handle these types of things moving forward in case there's a policy or procedure change.
Okay, that was me. I moved it, because I have a resident who has been following me and asked to meet with me. So in order to make sure that I felt more protected, I did move that camera so that it would be angled. Unfortunately, that resident found me elsewhere and had another conversation with me on the township property instead of in the allocated area that it was supposed to be in. I know that obviously it did come up. I did take it to KGC. I did ask them first about how to move them and explain why. So I feel that it's okay that I do protect myself when I wanted to, when I needed to, because I can't ask anyone else to be there at these meetings. It wouldn't be appropriate for another person to come along. I can't ask one of you two to come along at that point. It has been noted by the members of staff that this person is following me around, and it is coming past my house a few times as well. So I wanted to protect myself, that's why I did it. I did check with KGC about the moving of it and how to do it, so I did ask one of our service department persons to come in and help me with it because I'm not tall enough to do it. So that was the process to why I did it. And then it was supposed to be moved back, but by the time I got to finishing the other meeting outside, I didn't do it and I forgot, and I did mention it with the staff member that it would be moved back to where it was supposed to be. One thing that's come out of that though I did notice is I still think that camera angle is not appropriate to be above, and nor is the one in our fiscal officer to be above them. As female members of staff, I feel that camera should be a different angle anyway, because if they are in any way dressed and someone could look down their top, and I don't think that's appropriate in the first place, but that's a side issue. I do think we need to be looking at moving it anyway, but that was my reason for moving it in the first place.
So, I guess I wanna start with, obviously, if you feel unsafe, those types of things need to be addressed. That said, I don't know why you would be meeting a resident at Kristen's desk.
Because I can close that office door and then they can't have access. Because I had one meeting that was in the main room, and that didn't go so well. So then I figured the next time that he requested to meet with me, I would move it to a different room where I could close the door.
But then where the camera was repositioned would have only recorded you, it wouldn't have recorded the
That's
resident.
it. So you know
at
the
all.
one camera in the foyer captures the resident, if they're
Right.
a person.
It
So
runs right down
behind
the main hallway.
yeah, behind the person, the other one me. Because what I didn't want to happen is that person say that I instigated something or said something or did something. So I figured, well, if they can see both sides, and then I can make sure that both sides are captured.
Have you let Medina City PD know of the issue? Because I think it's important.
That's something, yeah, I did talk to the prosecution's office about it as well, and.
Well, I would make sure you let City PD know, because I mean, again, if there's a resident that's causing you issues, I don't wanna make any bones about it. That's a serious issue, and it should be addressed and brought to the appropriate people so that they can at least be aware of it and address those things. Because, again, none of this is to say that your safety concerns aren't important, but I also think that, you know, when it comes to, you know, the way that the cameras have been positioned, and I don't know that they've been moved in the time that I've served, and they definitely haven't been moved in the time that I've had access to the cameras. They were all positioned in a manner such that, like, there are 2 points of entry to that entire building that aren't on camera all the time, and it's the old garage. But if you were to come in there, you would be on camera right after you came in. And the repositioning of the one that's in the administrative office was set up such that it was able to see all 3 windows, but after being altered, it was only able to see one. So there could have been access to the building to potentially sensitive information that we would have never been able to track back. And so I think it's important that a couple of things here is one, you know, again, not trying to downplay any potential, you know, safety concerns of yours, but any types of adjustments to the system like that need to be something that's addressed by the board as a whole. I do think that, you know, one of the other things that came up throughout this process is it's opened up some other opportunities for us to maybe improve efficiency, right? Like, you bring up the concern about where the cameras are located. You know, I think the other thing, you know, where it is in the fiscal office is it's positioned such that, again, it can see both entry points to the room. It has nothing to do with where the desk is. As a matter of fact, that room's been reconfigured a couple of times with people sitting in different places, you know, depending where they are. So, you know, if Sherry has a concern with that positioning, then we should definitely work with her to kind of get her situated where she feels more comfortable. I don't know if that's, you know, if she mentioned anything to you. She didn't say anything to me, but that doesn't mean that it didn't happen. But the other thing that came up is, again, you know, there's been some limited access to who's got camera system access. But one of the concerns that was raised, and after speaking with Keith at KGC, there's audio on 2 of the 16 cameras. I did not know that there was audio. Nick, when his camera system was set up, or when Nick was given access to that, whoever on the administration side that set it up had enabled the audio, which allowed, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm getting some information from other people that I've talked to about it, but, you know, Nick mentioned concerns about whether or not the audio is even legal.
Yeah, so, I logged onto the cameras one time and just to see if, quite frankly, to see if Sherry was there because I needed to meet with her and I didn't wanna drive to the office without, for no reason. So, when I logged on to her office, I heard audio. She was on a phone call and I heard audio. So, since then, I lost my access to the cameras. I tried this afternoon and I can't log on to it. The guy that set me up, I don't really know what he was doing. He set me up for 30 days and it expired. Tommy.
What is it, is it a password issue that you're having?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay, so the only reason I ask is because, I mean,
So, yeah, as far as audio, I've had some experience with telephone calls. I don't know if camera recording is the same. In Ohio, the law states that only one person needs to know that it's recorded as a telephone call. Camera law, I don't know what the camera law is.
Right. Well, and you guys did see the email, so I don't wanna get too deep into that because there is a question in front of the prosecutor's office. They will be providing us with guidance, so we can get that. But I think what becomes a bigger concern is, you know, there was, the camera access, just so that everybody's aware, that system when it was set up, that was early '23, late '22, early '23. The only people that have ever had access to that camera system are the IT outfit, former trustee Fullerton, myself, the two of you, and Steve Kyle. Obviously trustee Fullerton no longer has access to it. But he was the only one that had access to the audio in the fiscal officer's office and the administration office. So, I guess where I'm at is.
What are you saying, Justin?
You'll have a chance to speak during public comment.
During public comment, you throwing me under the bus like I did something wrong and I know I didn't?
So what
That's
we
pretty
need to
low.
discuss as a
Turn
board
around,
is if we
loser.
want to,
Yeah.
if we want,
That
hey
is
guys,
Public records
Yeah.
request.
guys,
How about that?
if you're gonna interrupt the meeting, we'll ask you to leave. You'll both get an opportunity to speak. This is an open forum and you will have an opportunity to speak. So what we need to decide as a board right now is what's the best way forward, because we have a situation where we have some employees that feel uncomfortable in the building, and the camera system was never designed for that. It's a security feature that's supposed to be used in a situation where we have something that happens in the building that needs to be looked at. So where I'm at is what I would encourage, or at least what I would like to see is, we would disable all audio, at least until we can get guidance from the prosecutor's offices, whether it's even legal to have, because those two cameras are not in public areas. Those are private offices, or at least in restricted areas. So there are some questions over the legality of that. So I don't know that we ever want to turn those back on. The other thing is, I think we should probably just revert to a situation where if we need to pull any type of camera or video, we go to KGC. I don't know that there's really a reason for any of us to have access to the cameras,
Oh, period,
period.
okay.
You know, I just, it's not a headache that's worth
Yeah.
getting
Mhm.
into.
I did
So-
talk with KGC, I talked to Keith as well. One of the things that he said is the only person who would be able to turn that audio on, you had to be an admin on there. You couldn't just do it without that. So we were a user on it, so we weren't able to turn audio on that. So my concern when I talked to him is well, then we remove all trustees and only be users if we're gonna remain on it, and the only admin anyway would be Keith, and if he designates one of his staff.
Well, Keith's always been
And-
the only admin on,
Yeah,
well, KGC, I can't say, but
yeah,
Keith's been the only admin.
but I know that we have a number of names still on there from what he was talking to me about,
It's just the three of us, Steve Kyle, and
I
KGC.
have no, I haven't used it, touched it, and the logs should show that.
And,
Delete it.
well,
That's,
I'm just, for clarity's sake, but yes, Steve Kyle's login hasn't been used since 20.
it was when the cameras were set up, when you were feeling the
Exactly.
lines, yes, to
Absolutely.
clarify, yeah.
Yeah,
Delete it, please.
I'm okay with
I
turning
want
off,
nothing to do with it.
I'm okay with
No.
turning off, voice recording on all
Yeah, I
cameras
would, yeah.
until further, direction from the
But I think we shouldn't have
office.
them full stop.
And I'm okay, like I told you a little bit ago, I lost my access. I'm okay with not having access to the cameras.
Are you?
Mhm.
Okay. Well, then that kind of solves that piece of it. I will talk to Keith tomorrow and we'll get those adjustments made. And that's that.
Motion for that, or?
Yeah, so I guess I'll make a motion to disable any audio on any of the township cameras and limit camera access to KGC only, until we adopt a different policy, until we can address it or do another policy, if we ever wanna change in the future.
Correct.
Okay,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Alright, administrative announcements and informal items, township cleanup days, vouchers will be available Monday, but not before.
Yeah,
And Kristen will be working overtime. Alright, and with that, unless you guys have anything else, that you need to bring up for now?
No,
Okay.
no.
Well,
Oh, no.
I asked you to put,
what did I miss?
community events on the agenda.
Oh, I thought that was what we already had, I'm sorry.
No,
Yeah, yeah.
so,
Yeah,
when I interviewed, I said I had a few ideas of different things we can do for the community, and I'm definitely open to other ideas from the community. But one thing that I was interested in pursuing is a family movie night, and maybe either at the township admin office. We gotta find the venue first, but either there or Lions Park. So Kristen did a little bit of groundwork for me, and to purchase a temporary screen is around $125. Projector could be $250 to more, maybe a little bit more, and then to get the rights to a movie is around $500. So all around $1,000 or less. $850 I think is what she came up with, but I'm not sure about the projector. We might have to get a different projector that has so the projector she came up with has speakers, but I'm just not sure if the audio is gonna be strong enough to do it outside.
there are a couple of other organizations that do family movie nights and different stuff like that. Is there somebody that
We could just
we can
subcontract to.
hire to do
You
something
still,
like that?
you still have to pay for the rights. The
Yeah.
thing is, a lot of those, so like when Main Street Medina does it, they rent them, like the big screen and the projector and all that. But for as much as they rent that for, you could buy it.
Okay.
So that, like the tents last year, like we were gonna pay the same price to buy a tent to rent a tent,
Well, that's fair.
which didn't make sense.
That's all I was wondering if there was somebody
And
that-
I've talked to other communities and that I Googled like who does like movie night, blah, blah, and I personally emailed them and said, hey, who do you use for the rights? And they're like, we don't pay for rights. And I'm like, oh gosh. So I've gone through a couple different, there's like 2 or 3 companies that can offer movie rights.
Okay.
And like the title, Nick and I were throwing a couple different titles around, like more of like an older family movie is gonna cost a little bit less. The main company that does it doesn't even offer it. And then even an old movie like the old Wizard of Oz, they were like quoting us like almost $1,000, and I was like, oh,
Just for the movie rights?
just to show it one time.
Just to show it one time.
Just to show it one time. And I was like, okay, bye. So then I did a little more research and found the company that I talked to. They got right back to me. And they had the one we wanted for $450. And it's still a one-time showing, and they're like, you could pay $30 for us to send you the movie and you have to send it back, but they're like, just buy it yourself, don't do that.
Yeah.
So, we would just buy the DVD and then
Okay.
we'd be able to show it.
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea.
So Kristen also came up with possibly having corporate sponsors or somebody sponsor it, so she put together a sheet that maybe, if it costs us a certain amount to buy a screen and a projector and speakers and get the rights to the movie, maybe we have offer or have the ability to allow sponsors to come in and sponsor that, and we can plug their business before the movie or after or whatever, have a commercial in the middle, I'm just kidding.
No, we can do that. We can
You can do a
totally do
table.
that.
You get
You
to
can
stand
have
up,
vendor
you get to
tables.
stand up and do
You get to
math
s-
and
you
really
get-
throw things
yeah.
in.
So,
For our theater,
Not
they
sure
do a
if anybody-
jingle, so you have to sing.
yeah,
No,
So-
I like that. Did you guys have an idea of like when you wanted to do it time-wise? Like,
I was thinking like mid-July, just cause we're kind of dead around that time and you want it to be warm.
yeah.
right.
Cause I know that
July
when
and
they
August
did a
might be
movie
the
night
only-
several
Yeah.
years ago, it was in October and it was freezing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I suggest you check when Mainstream Medina's one is, so when.
I
when
will.
not-
I personally know
Yeah.
the lady in charge, so, she's a rugby mom, so, but anyway, I was gonna get with her. Actually, I went to the partnership council this morning. I don't even know if you guys know that I go to this. Once every couple months, there's a partnership council at, Garfield, at Garfield Elementary, that's now like Medina's business building. But they invite, community members for the first part of the meeting that all share different things that are going on in their certain communities. And like, so I get ideas of different things that are going on. Unfortunately, Angela with Main Street wasn't there, so, cause I was gonna ask her about who they use, cause I still wanna see how much it would be to rent versus buy the screen and the projector and all that. But they're able to put that on because they have how many businesses
I know
that all
Cool
chip
Beans-
in.
Yeah, Cool
Right.
Beans, I think sponsors that one.
So that,
Yeah.
you know, they all chip in to pay for the rights
Right.
to whatever they're showing.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, so better make some phone calls.
I know. So I have
So-
some ideas.
So as long as you guys can get behind it,
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
think
looking
it's-
for your buy-in so Kristen and I can kind of explore that a little bit
Yeah.
more and.
So the thing
like
is though, we can't promote anything until we purchase the
Until we purchase
rights.
the
So,
Oh, so we
you
can't
know,
say
do
we're
we
showing-
wanna say we're gonna do it? Because I was looking at the, events budget, and we would have it in the budget to just pay for it, but I mean, I hate to do that when you can just we can try and get a sponsor and,
Well, we can always budget as if we're not, and then if we can recoup some of it, it helps.
Yeah.
You know, for going forward.
Soften the blow.
You know, but yeah, I mean, can you guys have a firm plan in 2 weeks and we can make a decision then?
yeah, cause I even printed out the little, thing that I had made up for, different level sponsorships. And that is the application for the company for the movie, for the rights. I mean, other than that, it's a pretty simple, it's a simple event.
We also talked about having one or two food trucks there, sell whatever, popcorn, ice cream, something.
We actually have a couple of food trucks in our township, business-wise, and
Yeah.
I'll reach out to them.
Well, we wanted to.
Just as long as we don't have to pay them to come or
Right.
meet a
Like,
quote.
we want
No,
them
you
to
won't.
pay
Yeah,
us to-
cause I know there's a lot that do that, but
They switch.
like if they wanna come for free and then just sell stuff, that's great. But
Or if they
yeah,
wanna pay
we're not
$100.
paying them to come.
Yeah, what usually the food trucks have is they have a over, per head, they wanna know how much they're gonna make,
Right.
so we have to figure out roughly how much,
Yeah, it's,
how many residents
But
potentially
then
could
a
come.
lot, some of them though, if they don't make that, they charge you.
Right.
I've got some good ones you can
Okay.
use.
Some, that's like we did, the smash burger that came for the craft fair. They were just like, we're just happy to come. You don't owe anything, you don't owe anything.
Make
if we
sure
don't-
it's not during the fair season as well then, please.
No, fair is the first
Is that
week of
August?
August.
Okay.
Kristen won't be available for that.
Yeah.
No.
No, most of us won't be at that point then, okay.
Yeah, no, I would never do anything during fair week.
Okay, yeah,
But
no,
yeah,
I'm bored
get-
with it, I think it's a really good idea, Nick.
okay.
See if you can't get everything buttoned up, or at least, you know, an idea on exactly what it's gonna be.
I'll
That should be
start
budget
reaching out.
yeah.
I have a couple like Acme. Like I'm gonna start trying to reach out to some of the bigger
Okay,
places and see.
excellent, thank you.
Yeah, that should be more than enough for Kristen. She had a bunch, she had 3 emails in my inbox before I got home from it.
So she does things. So, alright, thank you. Anything else?
Nope.
Alright, then I'll go ahead and open the floor for public comment.
Mike's here. Ty Fullerton. Hey, the mowing contract, I know you guys, the board just approved it, but that's a lot of money, Matt, for mowing. I don't know, I just throw some ideas out, I'm kinda glad that, Tim wants to feel the water for the first year, but my math was if you hire one part-time person, two part-time people, 26 hours, $20 an hour, that's like 25 grand a year. It give you more opportunity to do longer ditches, bigger road jobs, you'd have extra people to do the flagging, right? So if they're gonna hire you, your second full-time person, is Tim coming back to mow Burns? Okay, good, so you got 4 people, right? So if you're Berman, you got a flagger on this side of the zone, you got a flagger on this side of the zone, and then you're in the excavator and someone's in the dump truck, right? So then they go and dump, and you gotta wait for them. If you had that second other person, you could be rolling 2 dump trucks, get a lot more done. I don't know that I would farm too much out.
I think the big thing with the mowing, you know, cause we did the force count paperwork with the mowing and stuff. And, the mowing house was, I don't have the paperwork in front of me, I sent it to the trustees, but it was a little over around $80,000 by the time we figured 3 guys, 2 days a week was doing the mowing. And, I think that was the reason why we were looking to restructure was because of the, you know, and getting rid of the maintenance of the equipment, not even having to worry about it anymore and farming it out. That was kind of the mentality of wanting to do that. You know, free time up. I guess the big thing is cause we did kind of talk about, when Carrie and I spoke about part-time help, you know, and I think the question's gonna be is trying to find somebody that's gonna work for very little. You know, it's, you know, we're having a hard time, the county's got a listing on Indeed now looking for full-time plow drivers. They're having a hard time finding help, it's hard to find even somebody who wanna work part-time. Yeah, I know, like Ben had said that, you know, like with Tim, he goes, he's not gonna wanna do all the mowing himself, and you don't do weed eating. So that is what I was told, so. That was one of the reasons we're looking to restructure.
I say we, just the last 4 years, we kinda used the extra people to our advantage. They mowed, but then when we were burning or, you know, ditching or, you know, patching or whatever, then we pulled them off the mowers, put them flagging traffic, so you guys had a safe zone, and you had enough people to do the job, and that you're not burning and patching every day.
You know,
But
the big thing
when
is.
you were, you had them.
The biggest thing is the weather, we're looking to try to take advantage of, you know, the short season of work, and I spoke with Angie Sullivan, our from County Engineer's Office, and, you know, like one of the things she'd mentioned before is, you know, in the work zones, the county is kinda getting to the point, depending on the area, they'll just throw road close signs up for the day, to try to just maintain local
Well, I'm
traffic.
not sure we can do that, right? Don't we have to have a resolution or a motion that we're gonna be closing the roads? We might have to plan it with the board, I think, I'm not 100% sure, if we can just willy-nilly close the road.
You know, so
I'm
whatever
not
the
100%
process
sure.
is, you know, cause that was one of the things the county's been running into, the problems, you know, people aren't abiding by the flaggers and so on and so forth. You know, we talked about the concept of maybe getting a, you know, portable stoplights and putting up in the work zone like ODOT does.
That would be a great idea. They're expensive, but there's some BWC grants out there for them.
Yeah, and that would free up having to have, you know, people standing there and being targets.
Right?
So I understand your concern, you know, because we did talk about the part-time issue or even having, you know, like I said, seasonal help. Tough thing is trying to find, you can find some young guys that wanna come in and do it and,
No, I get it.
you know, and then the problem is what happens if they're sick or they, hey, I'm going on vacation or I'm not gonna be there, then the road department's gonna have to pick the slack up. We're just trying to free up, I'm trying to free up our time to put towards, you know, Chatham Township used to do all their mowing in-house for a lot of years and they finally got on board and farmed everything out and was darn glad they have. Just for the fact of freeing them up, not having the equipment maintaining and the, you know, the gasoline consumption and just everything. That was the reason.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to share my opinion with you. I'm sure you'll do a good job. Just kinda wanted to talk about the $3,000, resolution that we always had in place for trustees, that you had to have board approval, to spend over 3,000, and this board took it away. I just think that's irresponsible. Everyone needs to be accountable, even the trustees, so I'm just still a little sad about that. And then the sexton thing, I don't get that. I mean, Rick Evans was service director, I think 12 years, and he did the sexton job in his salary. And now we're paying Ben an extra $100 a month. I don't even know what that is. You know, if you wanted Ben to do it, Ben, it's your job, do it. I'm not sure why we gotta throw money at people when it was incorporated in the job to begin with. That to me makes no sense whatsoever. And then I had a little bone to pick, with the zoning, inspector. I met him, Tom, he seems like a nice guy, but I needed a ag permit. We've got another little shed, and, it took me 4 times to finally get a hold of him. And I guess he only works 3 days a week, 4 hours a day, I think. And finally got a hold of him, and he gets paid a stipend. It comes up like $30 an hour. I guess I'm not up, but I don't get the stipend thing. Can't we just pay him per hour like we did the last zoning inspector? Just doesn't make any sense. A little disappointed in that stipend. That don't make any sense. And then the hours are pretty shallow for the township's needs as far as I'm concerned. Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I have something. Can I just say that?
Yeah,
All right.
just be loud.
Pardon me?
Just be loud.
Oh, that's no problem. One of my neighbors told me that when the tornado siren goes off, we can't hear it. I just look out the window. But I'm concerned, because we lived in the park area, and in the future, there's gonna be a lot of people going through that area, walking paths and everything, so I don't know if there's anything you can do about that, or,
Well, I mean, we have the one at the town hall complex, and the village installed one as well, so I would imagine.
the one where's the one located in the village?
Chippewa Lake has one at their admin building,
Yeah.
or their town hall,
Right after.
Chippewa Lake Town.
Okay,
So I would think between the two of them,
Yeah,
you should be able to hear
I
one of
think
them.
we should be able to hear that one, but,
So it's weather sirens are for outdoor people, not indoors.
Oh, okay.
You are not
Alright.
expected, or every weather siren company will tell you, they are not expected to hear them indoors.
okay,
They're only for people outdoors, and that's the big situation.
Because I know, over in our development, like, if my windows are open, I'll hear the one in the village. I'm assuming it's the one that's coming from the village, especially when they do their tests, but if you're doing stuff or your windows are closed and, you've got any noise going on, but,
I never hear them, so I don't know. Okay, and the second thing is there something that the township could do to help people that are struggling with their taxes? I was in Florida, and this guy lives in a $500,000 house, and he only pays $1,000 a year for taxes, because he said he's homesteaded in. So, is there anything that we can do to help? I know that we have to dig into personal business, or else everybody would want to be on board. But I don't know if there's anything we can do.
well, I can't speak to what, the homestead rules are or exemptions are in Florida. But the type of relief that you're talking about is not something that's in our authority.
Okay, that's,
The things that we can do, obviously, are managing the budget and only asking the voters, the residents, to foot the expenses that are necessary for providing the services that you all want. And that even still is, you know, not to pass the buck, but, you know, that's still only a small portion of what the total property tax bill is. But, you know, a lot of it goes to the things that we were talking about earlier today with, you know, reserve studies and trying to make sure that you're planning appropriately and you're not over collecting. You know, I don't think we have that issue here, but there are some municipalities in the county, you know, whether they're school districts or the cities, villages, you know, some of the other townships that, you know, build up a nice reserve rainy day fund, the state of Ohio builds up, you know, so I mean, trying to not do those types of things is about all that we can control, you know, and then help advocate for, you know, responsible spending across the board, just like you guys do, you know, at the state and county level.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
So, first breakfast went off fairly well, and we're still waiting on that signed copy too, Justin, just
Okay.
FYI. We served 540 people, little short, but not too bad. 219 adults, 269 seniors or vets, 43 children, and 9 toddlers. So, and then for the fire association, we did pay for the fire banquet for what Brian put on for the firemen. And we bought 6 box fans and we paid for our PO box this month. That's about all we've done for that. So that's all I have for the association. So I do have a question. So when did our security cameras become surveillance cameras? I mean, I just think there's the integrity and the professionalism is like, where is it? Because it's not, that's a problem. I mean, if you have a problem with an employee or a resident, you know, you need to talk to either the employee or you have an executive session. You have to do something, but to point a camera at somebody's desk, I mean, I know, Carrie, you said that you went to the police, or you didn't go to the police, you went to the prosecutor?
Yeah.
Okay, so Justin suggested that you go to the police department because you were scared, right? Well, you stood up here multiple times, waving a folder saying that my friends gave you death threats. I pulled the police reports, there are no death threats. You also did it to one of your clients and said you needed extra patrol. You needed extra patrol from us. So I just think there's like a little thing going on there. That's all I have to say about that. Did Steve ever, you read at one point, did Steve ever turn in that money that he said he was gonna do?
I'd have to check with Sherry, I don't know for sure. I know he was not paid for February.
Right,
He was-
you said
it was only, well, right, what I'm saying is he had already been paid for January at that time. So I can't answer that question, but I can find out for you.
Okay, and then I have a question on, you probably don't have it here, Justin, so I will give this to you.
Okay.
On the township policy, under this authority, what does that actually mean? Where it says, you know, the applicable opinion of the Ohio Attorney General and the Medina County prosecutors, what does that mean?
Sure, the prosecutor's office had provided us with a written opinion, which you've seen, I've shared multiple times. And even in that opinion, they reference several Ohio Attorney General's opinions. So it's very clear. I can send you another copy of it if you will, I mean.
So you're talking the one you did a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago?
The legal opinion that was provided, correct.
Yeah, okay,
The-
from a
the-
while ago. So you never sent one to the Attorney General?
The Attorney General wouldn't provide an opinion directly to a township trustee. That has to go through the prosecutor's office to facilitate one.
Okay, well, I'm
But,
just a little
but
confused.
there are.
So
any-
because it's referenced in the policy, then you're saying that you contacted the Ohio Attorney General?
No, I said applicable opinions of the Ohio Attorney General. anybody can go online and read every one of their published opinions. Anybody can see it. We can pull them up right now if you want. You can go read those, and when you read those, they tell you things. They've
Right.
reviewed certain things in the past.
That statement really leads people to believe that you contacted the Attorney General, because we did do a public record request, and you did not contact the
Wow.
Attorney General.
Again, I can't control how people interpret the words that I write. I don't understand how applicable opinions of the attorney. It says that the policy is adopted pursuant to the authority granted to the boards of township trustees under, including, but not limited to. And then it lists 2 sections of the Ohio Revised Code and applicable opinions of the Attorney General of Medina County Prosecutors and Medina County Prosecutor's Office. So I don't know how, again, I understand your position, but there's nothing in that tells me, that makes me believe that I contacted, or anybody at the township contacted the Ohio Attorney General in particular. They publish opinions on a regular basis. Every time they issue one, they're available for everybody to read.
So you just took it and put it in the policy that these were applicable from the Ohio Attorney General.
I guess I'm not following your question.
That's okay. It
There
doesn't-
are
it's-
applicable opinions that talk about township facilities and the authority of the board to set policies around them. And they are also contained, they are cited in the Medina County Prosecutor's Office's opinion that was provided to us. So,
From a year and a half ago.
correct.
Okay, that's fine, that's all good. So when you use the word facility, do you know what the word facility means?
Are you gonna try to claim that it's every vehicle as well? Is that the argument that you're trying to go with?
I'm saying that a facility is a place, vehicles, yes, it's all of those things. So when you say, when you're doing your, whatever form you want filled out, does that mean the Lions Club fills it out for all their events? Does that mean, when
Anytime
someone?
they're using one of our facilities, and to your question, okay?
Mhm.
People can kind of operate however they want with definitions. But, I think facilities, in lay terms, and what people would agree upon in most cases, if they're reasonable, are buildings, plots of land, places, things like that. Because if we were to accept your premise, okay, every resident of the township would have to fill one of these out and get approval from the board before an ambulance could arrive and provide aid. Because they're using township facilities. So we would have to give them pre-approval to be able to do that, which would be absolutely absurd. So,
So what
again,
about
I
the
know
ball
what you're,
fields?
what's that?
What about the ball fields?
The ball fields have a request form that are reserved for use.
Right, okay, so it's a field. And-
Correct.
Okay, so what about, when they use the, cemetery? Is that not a facility, is that not an event?
Who's holding an event at a cemetery?
They're holding a funeral, that's an event.
Which we oversee already as part of the process of maintaining, we do the burials.
Right, with township equipment. It's okay, so basically, you're gonna just pick and choose what you really wanna call a facility and what you want people to fill out. And that's perfectly fine. I only have one other thing for you.
Okay.
So I put a public record request in
Mhm.
March 20th,
Correct.
and I just wanted your opinion, since you're an expert at filing public record requests with all the surrounding townships, and even filing lawsuits with them in the Court of Claims. So
Yeah.
it's been 26 days, and when would you consider that I file in the Court of Claims against you, Justin?
Well, you would have to give 3 days written notice
Okay,
and an opportunity to cure.
okay,
And your request is pretty much full and filled, and there are some financial reports, I think, and I don't have it on here.
so are you filling my report, or?
Well, the items that I can help Sherry with, I am fulfilling for her, and then you had asked for some specific financial reports, things that I don't have access to, that Sherry will have to fulfill when they're done, but I believe I got the last of the minutes that apply to the things that you're looking for, and I should be able to have those to Sherry either tomorrow or Thursday. And then once she's able to get the last of those together for you, you should have those. But again, if you're, inclined, then you're more than welcome to file. There's a complaint form that's available on the Ohio Court of Claims website. You have to provide it to the township in writing, and then we have 3 business days to cure, and then you can file if you would like.
Okay, so, I appreciate your information, and I would just think that, public record requests here should be filled before you take all your time and apply, and do a public record request to all the surrounding townships.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Michael Millar, Wagon Trail. Trustee Millar, did you or did you not get a threatening message from someone who is associated with the Fullertons on Facebook?
Yes.
Did you or did you not get a threatening text from someone who is associated with the Fullertons?
Yes.
How is he saying
Lieutenant,
that I'm
wait,
associating?
I'm up here.
Just-
Don't.
I just wanna know how is he associating me
That's-
with these
How is she
people?
allowed to talk?
Just, you had your time to talk.
You're always out of order.
Lieutenant,
But let's,
Hang on.
my last
but
one
let's
question.
just try to keep it to township issues, all right?
One question. Before former trustee Fullerton came up to the podium, did he or did he not tell you he was gonna take someone out?
Take someone out.
I'm sorry, is this a comment section or a question?
As former trustee Fullerton was coming up and he passed you,
What
did he or did he not say, I'm gonna take someone out?
That wasn't his words.
Okay, can you tell me what he did
So-
say?
Guys,
So we're not gonna use the police
He didn't
department as
commit
a
a
weapon.
crime.
yeah,
Okay.
just,
Oh, that's how we're roll.
That's how they work.
all right, anyone else? All right, and if there are no other comments from the public, I'll turn it over to the board if any of the trustees have anything that they'd like to say. Nick, you wanna go first?
The only thing I wanted to say is, and I apologize, I know some people don't get around as well, but we have a policy to speak at the podium during public comments. If you can make it from the car to in here, and I'm not trying to make anybody mad, but I wanna treat everybody the same. If you wanna make a public comment, I recommend that we follow the policy that's in place, and you speak at the podium, you state your name, you state your address.
Anything else, Nick?
That's all I have.
Thank you. Carrie, would you like to say anything?
So, I normally don't answer to things on Facebook or to comments that are sent to me, Joe, okay? Whether or not I file any police reports or not, though, doesn't mean that it didn't happen. Now, I understand that you are upset about the situation.
Oh, I'm not upset.
You were at the time.
No.
But I did not use my business, like you said, okay? And the documents that were provided to the police department, I specifically said, in a profile of such a person. I didn't name any names because I don't know for sure whether or not that person's profile is real or not, just like a lot of things on social media, okay? But I appreciate your comment.
Carrie, I read the reports. The police reports don't lie, so anybody can pull them.
Okay. You had your opportunity.
But I think one of the things I think that's come out of tonight is how we feel about individuals and situations is totally, everyone's got their own personal choices and decisions to make. One thing I really did like though was Nick's idea of a community event, and I think that's something I think that the township really is looking forward to. It's something that's been talked to me quite a bit about, and I know that we, prior to you taking office, it's something we even talked about ideas. So I think, thank you Nick for taking the initiative and doing it, because sometimes I feel like, given that's my business, I should be the one doing it all the time. But I really appreciate the fact this is an idea that you've had and you want to bring it forward, and I think it's a positive thing for the township. Thank you.
Just, wanna address a couple of things, cause I think there were some questions that were brought up or some things that were said that could use some clarification. So, in one of the comments earlier tonight, there was a discussion over whether or not the trustees have the authority to close a road. And it may or may not need a resolution, and it does, in fact, fall within the purview of the board of trustees to manage and maintain the roads of the township. Obviously, township roads, we can't close a state route or a county road, and it would require a resolution. I'm surprised that that's an unknown, based on who made the comment. But at the same time, I also don't think that during those 4 years, any resolution was ever passed to close a road, even when roads were closed. To the $3,000 spending limit question that was brought up, the board did remove the $3,000 spending limit. The difference with that being is we do have the authority to make individual decisions that exceed that $3,000 limit, but any expenditure that's made outside of a meeting requires it to have been an emergency. So while the previous setup allowed the trustees to spend up to $3,000 for any reason and then bring it to the board at the next one, we now have to be able to document an emergency, what the emergent circumstances were before we can spend the first dollar. But yes, there is no cap to it. And then I guess the last one, we did make an adjustment to the way that we do the zoning inspector arrangement, because, well, there were a number of reasons, but I think one thing that's, again, kind of interesting about the comment is, if you're going to build or improve, and it falls under an ag exemption, there's no requirement to do anything other than just do whatever you wanna do. We can't, the state laws don't allow for us to put any that's what ag exemption is. If it's an agricultural use, you are exempt from any zoning. There are plenty of townships, and we will work with residents if they want to document it, or they wanna do something along those lines, but there's nothing in the zoning process that would hold up any type of ag exempt activity if a resident wants to do that. Unfortunately, it does sometimes lead to abuse. We'll have another one of those that we've gotta talk about at some point. But again, it's interesting that was another piece of information that was lacking. But I do want to address something else that was said, and I think it was a very, very good point. I think you saw, based on the action that the board took tonight, the security systems that are put in place and the cameras that are in our facilities are not for anything other than for security. And I'm glad that the board took the action tonight to return it to that level. So I do appreciate that comment, because it was very accurate. And with that, I have nothing else.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
It is 9:32, meeting is adjourned.